former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason, presented by Hair Club. Hair Club, love your hair, live your life on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live from Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry, Caroline Fenton, in for Chase McCabe. DMase, Willy Donick in the house. We've got a full house today. How y'all doing?
What up, what up, what up? What's up to my man?
Guys.
We also got an intern
Vase?
behind the glass.
What's your name, Vase or Gase?
It's Gase.
Gase? Hey, Gase, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, Gase. I just walked in, man. I'm sorry.
Gase
you're good.
McVabe.
Yeah.
You're
Gase.
the guy that played for the Jets, right?
Yes. I gave your cousin a jersey, man.
Cousin Chase. He's great.
Yes.
Yeah, new intern behind the glass. Really hope he doesn't mess things
He's
up.
from Montana. He's from Montana, people.
Montana.
Well, I mean, obviously the biggest story of the week is John Robinson has been fired by the Tennessee Titans. That's nothing new. It's something that we have covered in depth over the entire week. But even though we know what happened on the surface, we know the facts of John Robinson got fired and Ryan Cowden is taking over the GM duties until they find somebody to take that spot. But what we still don't know is what happened. Why? I mean, Amy Adams Strunk released a statement on Twitter, said, hey, we were not happy with the direction of the franchise. We were not happy with the direction of the roster construction. Okay, I understand, but still, why? Exactly what was it? What part of the roster construction? Why now? There are so many questions that I think I still have. I'll probably still have. A lot of Titans fans still have. And even when Mike Vrabel took to the podium earlier this week, I think that might have created a few more questions than it really did answer.
Yeah, because he didn't give, and rightfully so, he didn't give a definitive, answer to why now. Not necessarily why, because obviously, it's Amy's decision, but why now? And it seems as if he found out Tuesday morning, right before everybody else found out, or Monday evening,
Mike
a
Vrabel?
day before. Yeah, that's the way he made it seem. Like I was informed just, not too long after you guys were informed. And you just wonder if that was the case. But, I mean, how will it affect this team moving forward? That's what I want to know. It's her team. She can fire who she wants to fire. Everybody just wants to know why now.
Why now?
And what is the plan moving forward? Who's in line? Are you going to try to keep it in-house? Are you going to try to go outside of the Titan facility? Will Ryan Cowden be in charge of the draft, evaluating drafts as right after the playoffs? Because they're going to have to find a GM very quickly here. Because the draft is coming up. And this draft class, to me, is one of the most critical draft classes for the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, it's key. And you have, the Reese's Senior Bowl, the East-West Shrine Game, opportunities for scouts to go out and look for, future NFL talent. But you bring up, Mike Vrabel said that he found out Monday night, Tuesday morning, probably around the same time that we did. That's what he said. And I can only take a man by his word. You say, what's coming up next? And I do think that Vrabel plays a very key part in that. But what I also think Vrabel could potentially play a key part in is how we got to this point, how Amy Adams Strunk has gotten to this point with John Robinson, because we now have 3 examples from national talking heads, at least that I'm aware of saying that Vrabel may have played a bigger part of this than maybe he let on in his press conference, or maybe we initially anticipated. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, spoke on this on Tuesday.
Look, I continue to maintain power struggle, Vrabel won.
Yeah.
A.J.
Like
Brown,
that. Right.
catalyst. Because, Chris, they've done nothing to put out any other story. There's been no effort to push back against those of us who would say, well, they didn't see eye to eye. Mike Vrabel's won enough games that he's got the juice now. And between Julio Jones, because I don't know what other disagreements they've had, but I guarantee you Mike Vrabel didn't want Julio Jones in Tennessee.
Right.
That wasn't his call, as evidenced by the fact that he was nowhere to be seen or heard from when they made that trade. And he was vindicated. A.J. Brown, we know. We have the visual evidence. clear and obvious that Mike Vrabel was not happy that A.J. Brown was traded. And on Sunday, he was vindicated. Chris, I think it's as simple as they get their asses kicked by A.J. Brown and the Eagles on Sunday. On Monday, Amy Adams Strunk decides John Robinson's got to go, but I'll sleep on it. And she did. And Tuesday morning, John Robinson went. And there has been nothing, no effort whatsoever by the Titans to tell anyone who may be saying that they're off base. So we're on base. We are right on the money. Sometimes the simplest explanation is the right one. More often than not, the simplest explanation is the right one. And the simplest explanation here is Vrabel versus Robinson. Vrabel 1, Robinson 0.
All right, now, let me ask the important question. Anytime you have a very strong reporter like Mike Florio, who is a very strong reporter.
That he is.
When he says something like that, is it informed? Or is that his take based on just from where he sits? There's two different things there, right? Those are two different things. It can be him kind of reading the tea leaves and saying, I'm experiencing reading the tea leaves, and this is what I'm reading. Or he's got a source that's telling him, yeah, there was a power struggle, et cetera. You know what I mean? Like, that's the first question I always ask when you have an outsider. And it could be any outsider, but this guy's got some clout, right? This guy's on the Sunday night telecast. This guy's broken stories before. But based on what he said, I can't tell 100% if he's got an inside source there.
Well, it's just like anything else. He said it. Because you have not definitively come out and said anything about it, it's up to our interpretation.
Exactly.
We
all
can
have
throw
to guess.
anything
We
against
all
the
have
wall.
to guess.
Florio
all
can
on the table.
Florio can throw the A.J. Brown against the wall, and it's going to stick.
And that,
why?
in my opinion,
Because
that's what I believe he was doing. He was guessing.
Because they hadn't said nothing. We can throw hey, listen, it's the draft picks in the free agency against the wall. It's going to stick. Why? Because she hadn't said anything. So anything that we say as of now, it's almost like, okay, it's valid because nobody's debunking it at all. Nobody's coming out saying anything at all other than her statement.
And I'm glad that you bring that up because it wasn't just Mike Florio that mentioned that this might be a Vrabel move, that this could be a power struggle. And he's not the only one that cited A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. Albert Breer took to Monday Morning Quarterback yesterday and was asked about the move by a Titans fan. Now, keep in mind, Albert Breer, Boston guy. Mike Vrabel, Boston guy. This is what Albert Breer has to say. Says, I had it theorized to me by more than one NFL person on Tuesday, people who know both guys well, that it's possible that this was just a case of a partnership between two alphas and Vrabel and Robinson running its course. There was clear and public disagreement over the A.J. Brown trade, which I don't think it was clear in public disagreement, but I'll continue. Says the deal for Julio Jones, in which Vrabel got a player who physically couldn't practice, rubbed against the culture that Vrabel built too. And there are other examples that, on a surface level, could have generated friction between the two. So it's not just Florio, who, interestingly enough, cited Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, which were probably the biggest, most marquee moves that the Titans have made over the past
Two big
couple
ones,
of years. Albert Breer is also mentioning that too. That
He's mentioning, but what words did he use? Theorized. Right? Theorized, and
by
could
more
have.
than one NFL person.
Right. But theorized is the key.
That's
That's not like hardcore info. Now, I admire that all these guys they're starting to try to
get
dig.
hardcore info.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying when we read these, we got to understand: is this somebody reporting a direct source from the inside? I mean, I'm sure he's. What happens in these situations, right? People bounce stuff around, like an Albert Breer, a Mike Florio. They're going to start calling people, like, "Hey, what do you think? What happened over there? What do you think?" And they're going to get a consensus, but they're talking about it like we're talking about it. There's a difference between that. And these are all educated guesses, right? We're making educated guesses based on what we think. That's all we can do. But I still haven't seen anybody come in and say, this is the story. I talked to a source. I talked to a source inside the building, and it was this. You know, we haven't really had that yet.
Well, I mean, you can go, again, we can go to the A.J. Brown, we can go to the Julio Jones and say, well, this is why she made her decisions. Well, to me, it has to be more than that. It has to be some things that have led up to the A.J. Brown. It can't just be, again, I don't want to believe that the owner of the Tennessee Titans is a owner that will make a knee-jerk reaction. She'll watch a game on Sunday, be pissed off, and come in, Tuesday, Monday night, and say, I'm firing John. That's it. I'm not. This is not about, Mike Vrabel. This is not about Todd Downing. This is not about Shane Bowen. Nobody. I'm firing John Robinson. By the way, it's hard to find a really good GM. So you're just going to fire a good GM in hopes to find another really good GM. Firing a coach and a GM is totally different, okay? So to me, if you're going to go down that road, you got to bring up they don't have Jack Conklin anymore, who was an all-pro at one point. You didn't sign him back. You didn't sign Corey Davis back, nor Jonnu Smith. These are guys that were key to your winning, key to your AFC championship appearance. All these guys that we're mentioning that are here no longer. Caleb Farley's hurt. Isaiah Wilson is not here any longer. Guys that have.
Where is Isaiah?
I don't know.
Do we know?
I hope he's safe. I really do.
He's making a rap album.
Yeah, he put out an album about a year ago, and it was truly awful.
Oh my goodness.
I listened to it in its entirety.
Congratulations.
It was truly awful.
He's the panda. He was Trash Panda.
Oh my! I didn't know that, y'all. Yeah,
I'll play it for you at the break.
You learn something every day, but
like I said, anything is on the table.
But you gotta. My thing is, why aren't you going back to all of that? You're saying she made a decision based on AJ Brown, not us, but I'm just saying. People are now saying, well, it was a power struggle. He wanted AJ. He mad he got traded. He didn't want Julio Jones. So all of a sudden, Miss Amy woke up after the game and said, John Robinson, you're gone. Even though we were horrible before you got here, we're on the right track, you're gone. It had to be more than just the A.J. Brown. To me, it was a buildup.
Yeah.
If you're going to say you're going to fire him right now, it's a buildup of every year there has been misses at the first round with the first round pick just about every year.
That's what's mystifying about the 5-year extension. Because
exactly.
all of that happened, 95% of that happened before the extension. Now, let me challenge one thing that I think it was Albert Breer that said. 2 alpha dogs. There's no question in my mind who has the power. Mike Vrabel has the power. He's the coach of the year. He is an alpha dog. He's got clout more than John Robinson. I don't think John Robinson is an alpha dog, though. Do you guys think so? He was not like, hey, look at me. Look at all the great things I'm doing.
I don't think Mike Vrabel is
thought
the
he
same
knew
way.
his place.
But I think that in the way that they conduct business, and also think about where John Robinson came from in New England, those are all very much so keep it close to the chest, just conduct your business, put your head down and do your job. And I think that's kind of the way that John Robinson conducted his business. But Albert Breer, Mike Florio, each saying, hey, this was a power struggle. It cited the A.J. Brown and Julio Jones trades as reasons why friction was growing between Mike Vrabel and John Robinson. But they weren't the only ones. So did Mike Vrabel play a bigger role in this move and John Robinson's firing than we expected? We'll get into that coming up next, plus your thoughts. 615-737-1025. Chase, Willy, DMase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 2:45.
Sanders for the touchdown, 48 yards.
Former NFL wide receiver Chris Sanders joins Stillman and Company to give his thoughts on all things Titans and NFL. Fueled by Parman Energy, now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Joe Rex for FanDuel, inviting you to download FanDuel because it's the perfect time, because it's America's #1 sportsbook, and also because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if your first bet doesn't win. All you have to do is sign up with promo code Joe102. FanDuel has your traditional bets, your money line, point spread bets, player props, but you can combine them for a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. Of course, you also get updated odds during games, live betting, and you get paid fast, and it's safe, and trust me, it's easy to use. If I was looking Titans-Jags, I do think Derrick Henry is I'd focus parlay on him, and anytime touchdown and over on the rushing yards. Probably go Titans 2 would be mine. Sign up today with promo code Joe102 for your no-sweat first bet. Again, promo code Joe102. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, present in Tennessee. First online, limited wager only. Refund issued is now withdrawable. Free bets expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
Welcome to Smashville, home of the biggest hits in hockey and the loudest parties on Broadway. Join us at Bridgestone Arena Saturday, December 10th for a special Star Wars-themed game as your Nashville Predators take on the Ottawa Senators. Purchase your Star Wars-themed tickets at NashvillePredators.com/tickets to receive a limited edition Philip Forsberg bobblehead. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena. May the Force be with you, and let's go Preds.
Achieve hero status this year. The woman in your life will love this unique and thoughtful gift. Always in style, always fits, always appreciated. Choose your budget, and whether you spend a little or go lavish, she can choose from 10 different services, all under one roof at a Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa. Gift cards can be printed directly from the website, or they can be beautifully wrapped for a stunning presentation and even paired with other gifts like robes, candles, and all sorts of fun finds from the Gift Boutique. Learn more about this at amomentspeace.com/Christmas.
OrderGreen.com. You know them by now. They're my only choice for high-quality THC and CBD products, and they're delivered right to my doorstep. Hey, folks, Joe Rexrode here. Yes, you heard that right. OrderGreen.com will send cannabis products right to you with discreet same-day shipping. OrderGreen.com has been great for me. Just what I need during this busy time of year. Takes the edge off physically, mentally. Terrific products. And if you use promo code Joe20, you're going to get 20% off your first purchase at OrderGreen.com. Do you have a subscription to OrderGreen.com? It'd be a lot cooler if you did. You won't be able to tell if you're in Colorado or Tennessee. Trust me. That's OrderGreen.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
I love this show.
Never miss a moment of the show.
Okay, all right, okay.
Subscribe to the Chase, Willy, and DMase podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and DMase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
To me, I don't know how this is anything other than a Mike Vrabel move. I mean, I really don't. And so whether that, has there been, multiple things that have kind of gone along that have been, there have been disagreements on where, he, I don't want to say lost out, but look, I think you could go back and let's just say all right, Isaiah Wilson, where was everybody on Isaiah Wilson? This is where everyone was on it. Okay. A.J. Brown. Okay. Where was everybody on A.J. Brown? Okay. Where was, whatever it is, whether it's, what was the kid's name? Fowler, where was everyone on him? Was it you just start to go down the list and be like, all right, here's the thing. We've been together long enough. Where were we on all those things? What does that mean for the relationship? And then, also, I guess if you're, if you're Mike Vrabel and you feel like, you don't see eye to eye on that stuff, then you start making a move on it. And so, yeah, I would agree with you. I don't think there's any shot that this happens during the year, this type of timing, if it's not driven by Mike Vrabel.
Okay, that was Tim Hasselbeck on Chase, Willy, and DMase yesterday. And I believe when he says Fowler, I believe he means Caleb Farley. But the point remains, it was a questionable draft pick. But he says, because we've been questioning the timing all week long. Why now? Why not just wait until the end of the season? What big moves is the general manager going to make from now until February? Tim Hasselbeck says it doesn't happen in the middle of the year unless it's a Vrabel-motivated move. So now that's 3 national pundits between Mike Florio, Albert Breer, and Tim Hasselbeck, who are all looking at Vrabel and saying that this was a move that was motivated by him.
Once again, It's an educated guess from an experienced point of view, but I don't think with any inside sources. Doesn't mean they're wrong. Does not mean they're wrong. And remember, when we're trying to guess and speculate on something that has never happened before. It is unprecedented that a first-place team that has had as much success as they've had fires the GM in the middle of the season. It's one thing to do it after the season, but just keep this in perspective. It has never happened before. That's why it's such a mystifying thing. And the other part of this that I think is interesting, and there's been some stuff. I heard a Rex rant this morning, and he was talking about a tweet from Steve Hutchison, and I noticed it. I know Steve a little bit through Hal Gill, who's one of his closest friends, Hall of Fame offensive lineman, right? Finished his career with the Titans. And he was talking about how a lot of times the media is left in the dark, right? And in a market like New York, right, you've got so many people covering the team and so many angles that it's harder to keep your guard up and not let information out. But in a market like Nashville, I think that's been sort of the tradition. Teams really close the ranks, and they try to keep things in-house and not let anything seep out. And it's harder, especially when you had 2 years where you basically couldn't get around the team with the COVID restrictions, right? So it was hard to get sources inside the building and stuff like that. But a team really has a choice. They can try to keep the media completely in the dark, or there are ways, if you want to get your message out there, if Mike Vrabel wanted it out there, that he was displeased with John Robinson, there are ways to do that without saying it to everybody in a big media scrum. Am I right? I mean,
no. Your way,
like a veteran coach knows how to get to a source, get to whether it's a national guy or a local person, to say, you know what, not real happy with what's going on here. And that writer will then say, there's way that happens in New York and big markets all the time.
And it used to happen here, but then they hired the guy that they always did that. I mean, like, that's the truth. The smartest, but also a move that I think hurt them was hiring Jim Wyatt to work for the team.
That's a very good point. And as Joe mentioned,
and that's
this morning,
no disrespect to anybody that's covering the team now, but Jim was the best.
A great traditional beat writer who built up the trust, the sources over a long period of time. As Joe pointed out, with the newspaper business and the way media is right now, there's such a shuffle in beat writers. There's not that kingpin go-to source like there was in the traditional way back when you were playing, Derek, how teams were covered in general. So that's a big part of why teams, I think, have said, you know what, we could probably keep this a secret.
Well, it's hard to keep stuff a secret nowadays. I mean,
we don't really have to have Amy go in front of the media. Nobody's going to like it, but we don't have to do it.
But I go back to Traylon Burks, whenever he was on and off the field in training camp, and we were all thinking, okay, what's going on here? Is he out of shape? Allergies? Remember that conversation? Asthma? We had all of these stories and rumors that were going around, and we were reaching out to Fayetteville beat writers like, hey, was weight an issue when he was at Arkansas? Because we weren't getting any guidance. And I could tell from inside the Titans organization, they got frustrated from those rumors.
Well, the receiver coach got frustrated.
As soon as Rob Moore said, hey, it's asthma, we were like, okay, cool, thanks.
That's all you had to say.
That's all you had to say.
Well, I mean, yes, and the Titans have been really good at trying to keeping things close to the vest and, not allowing things to sort of get outside of that building, in waves. See, things trickle out with every organization. But I think the Titans, their mission is to keep everything that goes on in-house, and, we will allow what we want to get out. We will allow it to get out. But if you looking at this season and how it's went for the Titans, we understand that this is a average roster. It has, an elite player. He's declining somewhat, but he's an elite player. And Derrick Henry, we have another on defense, and Jeffrey Simmons, and he's ascending, and it's great. Hopefully they can sign him back. But why did – I'm trying to figure this out. Why did Vrabel, after losing to the Eagles, which many thought you were going to lose to the Eagles anyway by 10 points or more. I think what was the line? 7, 8 points, somewhere around there?
Somewhere in there,
8.5.
Why after the Philadelphia game and not after the Kansas City Chiefs game or the Cincinnati game that you get on a podium and say we are at a crossroads right now. And don't elaborate on it really, but this team is at a crossroads. I think that message was straight to two people. That message was to John Robinson, and that message was to Amy Adams-Strunk. We're at a crossroads. Something needs to be done. It's either my way or his way. And if it's his way, I'm gone. I'm the coach of the year. You gonna let me leave? Seriously? If you let me leave, I will have a job the next day.
But I don't know if it has to be that demonstrative in that moment.
I'm just saying
it could have been, but
I'm just saying, when you do something like that, that's what you're telling people.
Yeah.
Like, for no other reason do you come out and say we're at a crossroads. You should have said we're at a crossroads when you lost a week before against Cincinnati.
And I think that Mike Vrabel knows, along with many other coaches in the league, they know how to manipulate the media or use the media as a tool to their disposal. And Mike Vrabel, I believe, views it as, if I want to tell you something, if I want you to know something, I'll let you know. But if I don't want you to know anything, you're not going to find out. We're going to keep that in-house. And I don't think anyone, and especially Mike Vrabel, I'm not going to call it reporting, if the speculation from Mike Florio, Albert Breer, Tim Hasselbeck, and I'm sure plenty others, is this was a Mike Vrabel motivated move. Mm-hmm. If indeed that is fact, I'm not saying it is, if it is, you think Mike Vrabel wants that to get out? They're not going to tell you. And that's the reason why we haven't heard, specifics behind exactly what happened. We can speculate, some bad draft picks over the past couple of years, bad signing of Julio Jones, the trade for A.J. Brown looks pretty bad right now, but they're not going to tell you.
Well, I agree with you. I think that's the art of all coaches, is knowing what I want out there, knowing what I don't want out there, and how do I go about that, right? Without... Yeah. Jeff Fisher had his way of doing it. Floyd Reese had his way of doing it. Peter Laviolette had a different way of doing it. Mm-hmm. Barry Trotz would pour his heart out and talk for a long, long time. There's different coaches do it different ways. But I think what's really interesting to me is there's different ways. Like, here's what Mike Vrabel said at the press conference. He said he talked to John Robinson. He's appreciative that John Robinson gave him the shot.
I'm sure he is.
What can I pass along to the team? That was... So he really went, this is what he did say, right? Mm-hmm. This wasn't something he kept close to the vest. He wanted it out there that he's still on good terms with John Robinson.
Of course he did.
So if he's saying that and then the real story is he won a power struggle, that's two very different things. Now, there's different ways of sort of letting it play out. Rather than bust into Amy Adams-Strunk office, say, I've had enough. We don't have a good enough roster. We can't win right now with these guys. I'm fed up. What are we going to do about it? But there's also kind of over time, instead of stepping up and defending your GM, when you're the one that has the power, right? He could protect John Robinson. He could say something to those questioning, saying, hey, give John a little break here. Not everybody gets everything right. He's done a lot of good things. I think it maybe has gone from that to a little bit more of sort of just letting it be known just by your lack of action that you're not quite as confident in him as you were a couple of years ago, or even a few months ago. Is that fair to say? Like, there's.
I mean, we can say anything right now.
Exactly. I'm just throwing out theories. We're all throwing out theories, but I think Mike Vrabel had the power to go into Amy Adams' office and saying, "Hey, Amy, let's not do anything rash here. Okay, it's the middle of the season. Do not fire this guy in the middle of the season. Nobody's ever done that before. Now we'll reevaluate after the season. If you're not happy with what he's doing." But we don't need this now.
He's in CYA.
He could have done that. But he could have done that. Am I right? He had the clout to do that if he wanted to do it.
But if he had the clout to do that, don't you think he also had the clout to go into Amy's office and say, this isn't working anymore? If he has the clout and the power to save John Robinson's job, he could also have the clout and power for him to lose it. But that's what I'm going to get into coming up next. And the people have theories as well. So we are right to your phones coming up next. Chase, Willy, and DMase is presented by Hair Club, where you grow your own natural hair through non-surgical options that deliver impressive results. Willy, tell us about Lee Company.
All right, let's talk Lee Company. Predators fall in Tampa last night, a 2-2 game into the third period. They fall 5-2. Back in action tomorrow in Smashville at 12:30. An early start against the Ottawa Senators, a big game. A lot of hockey coming up in the month of December at Bridgestone Arena. So, Lee Company, a big sponsor of the Nashville Predators coverage on our station, and, of course, when you go down and watch a game at Bridgestone or any event at Bridgestone Arena, you'll see the Lee Company display. Lots of great services that they provide, including general maintenance. I always say it on Fridays. You're wanting to get out of your office or you want to be done with your workday, but maybe you're in charge of a maintenance issue and it's been lingering. You've been putting it off. Just make one quick phone call to Lee Company and get those guys on it. They'll do it. 615-567-1000. General maintenance, indoors, outdoors, floors, ceilings, doors, windows, whatever it is. 615-567-1000 or go to leecompany.com. You can make an online appointment, and then your job is done. You can get to the games you want to go to tonight. You can get the heck out of Dodge and leave work and start your weekend. 615-567-1000 or leecompany.com.
Hi, I'm Yussi Saros. And this is Nashville.
Now here's a try off to the side. What a stop made by Yussi Saros there.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 1025, The Game.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota compact tractors, rated #1 in durability and owner experience. They're designed for easy operation and feature performance-matched attachments. Right now, put 0 down and get 0% APR for up to 48 months, plus save up to $1,100. Now through December 31st. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit Coleman Tractor Company, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
Happy holiday from Houston Clinic Orthopedics, conveniently located where you live and work with various locations in and around the Nashville area. Houston's physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and many other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they strictly adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff's safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all Houston physicians and specialties, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
How to say I love you without words and make your money go further this year? A beautiful piece of jewelry from Genesis Diamonds. And we're making it easy with 0 interest financing. That's right. While interest rates are on the rise everywhere else, at Genesis Diamonds, we're lowering rates all the way down to 0% with 0 down. This is in addition to Genesis' amazing, unbeatable value prices. How about a 5-carat diamond bracelet for only $85 a month? Or a luxury pre-owned Rolex Submariner or Datejust? Pay nothing down and spread the cost over 5 years. Everything's included in this amazing holiday offer, but this is only through December 12th, so shop early. Unique designer jewelry, colored gemstones, classic diamond studs, handcrafted engagement rings starting as low as $35 a month with 0 down. Even our GIA certified diamonds are included. Let Genesis help you find that remarkable gift for the season and enjoy low payments and 0% financing for 5 years with no money down. Merry Christmas from Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
Open Sundays till Christmas.
Jonathan Hutton.
You have to put the ball in his hands in that moment.
And Chad Withrow.
My kicker's making no decisions on a football team.
Are in the game. Join them for NFL postgame after every Titans home game. Live from Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on Broadway. They'll break down that day's game and look ahead to the next one. NFL postgame is presented by Two Rivers Ford, Renter's Warehouse, and Superbook Sports on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Ryan Johansson. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Chase, Willy, DMase, 1025, 1063, The Game. Hey, you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Let's go to your phones. As promised, phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joe in Nolensville is up next.
My gosh, finally. I mean, you guys just, you make me sit there on hold the whole show. It really hurts my feelings.
You sound a lot like that grouchy guy on the morning show on this station.
Exactly. The guy that has rented out his head free to Jared. Is that you?
Jared's saving a lot of money on rent.
Yes, he's saving a lot of money.
And by the way, DMase, you'll appreciate this story. I don't know if you remember Tim Stout, long-time media guy from Lansing. One day he was ranting about Michigan State basketball, and he got a call from Judd from East Lansing. To comment on your commentary then, Tim. Anyway, no, but I wanted to call you because you guys are having a really good discussion, and you played those clips. At some point, definitely play the Charles Robinson clip that we had earlier on our show, because I think Willie brought up a good point. Are you reporting something with a source, or are you kind of reading tea leaves? Charles came to us and made it very clear, reporting from inside the building. And this is kind of why I got so mad on the show earlier, and I understand it. Like, we're all looking for, like, what's the story? And it's been, believe me, it's been all week for me and for a lot of people, who cover this team. And I can't speak for anyone else, but I will anyway. I think a lot of people have talked to a lot of people. I can tell you that I have. And I have people in that building who tell me things at times, and I feel like a pretty good breadth of, because, you got people who, maybe at times aren't going to tell you the whole story, but you got to be able to also talk to people who aren't afraid of that or have different interests, right? I mean, it's a complicated web, but essentially, like, I feel pretty confident in saying at this point, like, the reason this is the way it is because it's a very contained situation. I mean, it's Amy Adams Strunk's decision. And you know what, Caroline, you're right. Maybe Vrabel explicitly came out and said him or me or he stinks or whatever. But I think it's more what Willie was saying, which is, I mean, he's kind of, not only has he not really, like, defended him publicly, but there's been some expressions of public displeasure. And it doesn't necessarily take more than that. If you're Amy Adams Strunk, and Mike Vrabel is a star in the profession, and yes, there are potential other organizations you could be interested in him, and he's clearly doing a better job than John Robinson, and now he's clearly frustrated, and you know that he didn't like the A.J. trade. Like, it doesn't necessarily take Vrabel actually taking part in a football movie scene of, like, him or me for Amy Adams Strunk to come to this decision, right? So anyway, I just think it's an interesting discussion, and I just, like, on behalf of everyone who covers the Titans, I get people being frustrated. Like, why don't you have the story? But I feel pretty confident at this point in saying, and not just from guessing, from talking to a ton of people, that, like, it's really contained, and it's like Amy did what she did. And again, maybe she was on the phone with John Robinson and said, well, Amy found someone better, and there you go. And then it becomes this abrupt firing. I don't know, and I may never know. But people searching for all these things, like someone who shall remain nameless right now, like, I think we're
somebody you got on your nerves this week.
End that now. Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, play the Charles clip. I mean, Charles, I'm biased, but Charles is, to me, as strong an NFL reporter with sources at every single city as there is covering this league right now. I mean, he had a lot of stuff on the whole COVID thing that no one else had as well, and I think it's just a lot more simple than some people want to believe it is.
Thank you for your call, Joe in Nolensville.
I'm talking about your clothes.
Thank you.
And I think that you, Joe, and Willie bring up fair points. Do you know something? Is it reporting or is it speculation? But I go back to Kirk Herbstreit, for example, went on, I believe it was SportsCenter and maybe First Take, a show on ESPN, and said, I think Texas and Oklahoma might join the SEC. And I thought, is he reporting that? Mm-hmm. Or does he just think that? Is that really just something that just came into his head? A few days later, it's leaked by a Texas A&M beat writer that Texas and Oklahoma are joining the SEC. And so at least there you have a tangible something to say, oh, well, Kirk Herbstreit knew something that we didn't know. And that's what I have to wonder with Florio, Breer, with Hasselbeck yesterday. Do they know something, or is it just speculation? And I think either is valid.
Yeah.
But we had that Charles Robinson clip that Joe was referencing. All right, here's Charles Robinson.
You know, after I had a chance to talk to a few people, it was clear that he didn't. This was not, Mike Vrabel's decision. This wasn't. It wasn't similar to anything Bill O'Brien had done in Houston, which was really interesting to me. And what I was told, and it's remarkably vague, the information that's sort of been shared about this whole thing is just that there was a disconnect that developed between ownership and John, and that there was some frustration about it, and that, it wasn't like it was all what happened with A.J. Brown, but that was definitely a factor, the way that trade, happened. And, John's track record with some free agency decisions, obviously some draft picks did not help. And I don't know. It's not been adequately explained to me why the timing worked out the way that it did, or considering sort of what John's contract situation was coming into this season, why all of a sudden this just developed now. But I do think that, again, what was shared with me was there was just an element of frustration in terms of ownership and the involvement they had with sort of the planning and execution of how the team was taking shape and some of the decisions that were ultimately made.
Okay, so per Charles Robinson, it was frustration between ownership and John Robinson.
And I think that's where we are trying to figure it out, or we're getting, where the frustration comes with, whether it be the fans, some fans, not all fans. Some fans are just like, hey, he's gone, good riddance. But then there are some fans that are like, listen, why now? Not necessarily. It's not the why you fired him, it's the why now.
Yes.
That's the why you fired him can be exactly what Robinson said. What he said. It was just it became apparent that ownership and John were butting heads. Okay, we get it. But it's the why now. It's the question. Why now do you fire him? And that you haven't given. You've came out with a press release and said, vaguely these are some things, but that's almost universal. Like, I can take that, go down the street, to Indianapolis and hand it to Irsay, and he can say the same thing about his GM when and if he ever does fire him. It could be the same thing. So it's for us, it's not necessarily you fired him. But why now with 5 games left and it can cause a distraction for your team, and you're an organization that preaches we do not allow distractions to come into this building, especially during the play week. But why would you do that knowing that it will cause a distraction? Yes. You fired him. You can do that. It's your team. That's okay. Everybody gets fired. You better make sure you get a GM that can be better than John Robinson, because if you don't, those people are going to stop coming through those gates over at the stadium. They're going to be
$500 million
exactly.
On the line for a new stadium?
So you can fire John. That's cool, But why now? Why with 5 games left? I think that's what really people want to know. Like, a lot of people want to know the why now.
I 100% agree that the biggest part of the story is the timing. Mm-hmm. Now, it's never happened before. A team in this position firing the GM. That's why I don't think Vrabel stormed in there and said, we got to do something, we got to do this right now. I don't think so. It's much more likely.
But do you
that
think
what Robinson said is
do y'all
the way
think
to go.
The crossroads, this team is at a crossroads, that reference right there, that may have struck a nerve with Amy Armstrong. That may have struck a nerve after the game. Why are we at a crossroads?
Unless Amy Armstrong knew what the crossroads was.
Yeah, you're right.
Unless this was something that was building up over time, because the Julio trade, the A.J. Brown trade, the bad draft picks, those aren't anything new.
We all knew about those things.
He was just irritated by the Philadelphia game. But coming up next, we are right back to our phones, I promise. And hey, be sure to follow us on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Every Wednesday at noon.
No matter the down and distance and no matter the score, they're going to give him the football.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Chase, Willy, and DMase to talk all things Titans and NFL.
I hope that they're not throwing flags simply because the league wants to see more of them.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
They are not as good at wide receiver and the playmaking department.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon. Presented by Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars and by Edley's Barbecue on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, I may be the intern today, but I have to tell you about Superbook Sports. Can you make your parlays pop this holiday season? You can win some money from Vegas with weekly parlay bonuses from my friends, my official sportsbook, Superbook Sports. If you place a 3-team football parlay, Superbook will give you a $10 bonus voucher. It's your holiday bonus courtesy of Superbook Sports. Just rack up the wins and earn some holiday cash by betting parlays with Superbook. Download the Superbook Tennessee app and place your parlays today. If you're looking to include Titans and Jags in that line's moving a bit, but still has the hook. Jags getting 3.5 points on the spread on the Superbook Sports app. So do like I did. Download that Superbook Sports app today and get to winning. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Have some family or friends in town for the holidays? Show them a good time. Great scratch food and even better scenic views at Twin Peaks. With plenty of shareable things on the menu, this is your place for holiday gatherings. Contact your favorite location for more info today.
Men, are you asking yourself questions like, why am I gaining fat? Why is my energy or sex drive down and maybe haven't been getting the exercise you need? If you want to get back to the man you used to be but just don't have that youthful energy, that edge you once had, you very well might have low testosterone. Low T causes all kinds of issues, from a reduced libido, lower drive, and bad sleep patterns to problems with muscle gain, bone density, and more. It may even contribute to erectile dysfunction, and if this sounds like you, it's probably time to get treated for your low T. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've treated thousands of men for low T. We've seen them put on muscle, add to their energy, improve their sex lives, get better sleep, and just feel better. Plus, if you're like most men, you'll see results in only a few weeks. So make an appointment today and experience how testosterone therapy can truly change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. Call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra, results vary.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Mike Capel here, serial entrepreneur. I began paying employees in 1988. I would handwrite checks and say, here you go, don't cash it until Tuesday. But a teenage employee said his dad wanted to see his pay stub. Pay stub? We don't have pay stubs. Get back to work. He said,
Dad works for the government, and state law requires that I receive a pay stub.
Crud! Now I'm supposed to be an expert on withholding payroll taxes and create pay stubs? That's why I created Patriot Software, to help employers with 1 to 100 employees do their payroll correctly with pay stubs. Go to PatriotSoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll free. That's PatriotSoftware.com.
PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Jared Stillman.
This is a team that the entire city is losing their minds over.
Caroline Fenton.
It's one of the youngest teams in the league. They don't have a single player over the age of 30.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and DMase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are right to your phones as promised. Paul has been waiting very patiently. What's up, Paul?
Hey, everybody. I have a theory on why now that I've not heard floated out there that I'd love to get your guys' opinion on.
Let's hear it.
It has really nothing to do with Mike Vrabel. It has nothing to do with A.J. Brown either, but it does seem simple and logical to me. And I'm not trying to compare in any way, shape, or form like what I do to NFL-related anything. But I handle real estate investments for pretty sizable investors. If I were to use them without their permission to negotiate with a subcontractor, they would lose their mind about all of them. If I were to say, hey, these what you've done or built or installed is beautiful, I don't know where we're going to get the money to pay you. If I were to do that without their sign-off, every single one of them would be really, really upset. And what I do doesn't play out in the media. If that was a conversation with Jeffrey Simmons that then played out in the media between John Robinson and him about, hey, we want to sign you, we don't know where we're going to get the money to pay you, and he did that without Amy's permission, basically flinging her under the bus as to why he's not re-signed, I wonder how many of her friends would have to see it and make a joke like, oh, Amy, what happened? Did you lose your shirt in Bitcoin? Why can't you pay Big Jeff? Before she got real mad.
Yeah, thank you for your call, Paul. Thank you for your call. I think it's an interesting thing to bring up because when I read that in the Athletic article, he's referencing Jeffrey Simmons, the Athletic article, he said that in contract negotiations with the Titans, they said, we don't know where we're going to get the money in some form or fashion. Basically, we don't know where we're going to get the
That
money.
was the quote that jumped out. It was a really good article. It was a
Super
long
good
article. Excellent article from a lot of angles, but that was the quote. That was the first thing people noticed.
What? Like, you're going to tell that to somebody that you're in negotiations with, that you want to pay them, but you don't know where the money's coming from? I don't think that that's going to be – and first of all, I don't know who that came from, whether it's John Robinson or from the horse's mouth herself, Amy Adams Strunk.
Well, it was a quote from the people that are representing Jeffrey Simmons, if I remember correctly.
Whoever they heard that from, whether it was John Robinson that told Jeffrey Simmons people, we don't know where the money's coming from, or if it was Amy Adams Strunk.
It certainly sounded like it came from, like, who else would be doing that if it weren't Robinson?
Most likely Robinson.
In talking about contracts, unless he delegated somebody else to do that.
Most likely Robinson.
Yeah.
But if Amy fired John Robinson because of that, because to the caller's point, they were embarrassed over things that her friends may have said, I think that is a pretty rash overreaction.
But, of course, we have seen in history a George Steinbrenner, a Jerry Jones, some of the outlandish owners, they have wielded their power irrationally sometimes. It does happen. George Steinbrenner would be the headliner. That's not been her track record, right? Not very often. I think Joe referenced that they fired the special teams guy several years ago. I mean, if that's the only example you come up with, I think she's been pretty level-headed, and she has been, rightfully so, praised for how she has taken the reins, and moved the team in the right direction. But it has come up a few times about, in this day and age of the NFL, where you have these massive signing bonuses that help you maybe manipulate the salary cap, the Adams family, going back to the start, it's one of the old guard family-owned teams where you don't have the deep pockets. Like, I'm a huge Mets fan, right? What's the big story in baseball? Steve Cohen comes in. He's got more money than you can count. He's wielding money all over the place. He's spending more than anybody's ever spent before, and they have no salary cap. They have a luxury tax. So he's just saying, I'll just pay the luxury tax. He's got that kind of money. Not every owner and not every team has that. And in football, that's true as well, right? I don't think Amy Adams can sit there and write checks for whatever amount, build her own stadium, not that kind of wealth, right? She owns the team. The team's worth a ton, but that's a little different than the what do they call it? The liquidity, the ability
cash,
to really have the deep pockets. Not everybody's on the equal playing field.
Right.
Remember, Chris Mortensen was the one. You were on the show last year when we were talking about A.J. Brown, and Chris Mortensen said there are teams that can more easily write a huge signing bonus check than others, and that does allow you to manipulate the salary cap. And I had never thought of that before until he said that, but I do think that makes sense.
Yeah, because when you have to redo those deals, that's real cash that you have to dish out. And,
you got to have it in the bank.
Exactly. And that's why we always reference, the salary cap is fake because you can manipulate however you would like, but that's also up to the owner because the owner has to write a check for however much you are changing, contracts in order to make room on the salary cap. Go back to your phones. Adam in Portland's up next. What's up, Adam?
Hey, Miss Caroline. So this is what I've thought a lot about this. This is what I kind of compare it to. Have you ever met someone where you're like, he's a pretty good dude, but he's a horrible husband? Like he's just not good at it. He's not attentive. He's not everything you need. Well, that's what I picture J-Rob at with the Titans organization and the fans. Like, he's messed up so much, like, in this marriage that you're like, he really, really needs to try to figure it out. And then AJ coming in and killing us was like giving us a vacuum cleaner on Christmas. Like, it was like the worst thing he could have possibly done in that moment. So I see it as like a huge buildup of a bad spouse and just, had to end it at that point because it was like the last straw.
Do you know anybody that has given a vacuum cleaner for Christmas?
I don't know anybody, but man, I hope you don't give, unless she wants it or he wants it, then you buy it.
I gave my mom a carpet shampooer for Christmas one time, but she asked for it.
She asked for it, Okay. So you do it.
Son of the year. I do know somebody who gifted liposuction for Christmas, unasked for. So that might be even worse than a vacuum cleaner. But anyways, message received. To Adam's point, I understand that John Robinson did some made some bad draft picks. The Julio signing was bad. The A.J. Brown trade right now where it stands looks bad. But we can't let the recency bias of some of the bad overshadow a lot of the good that John Robinson did. This team was 3-13 when John Robinson took over, and the Titans have yet to have a losing season with him at the helm. So to Adam's point about, you may have gifted some really bad gifts on Christmas, but overall...
But not a vacuum cleaner.
Not a vacuum cleaner.
You haven't
but
given
overall,
that
you love her,
vacuum
you
cleaner.
support her, and you're...
He did some good things.
He did some good
A lot
things.
of good things.
And I'm surprised that this move happened. If it happened at the end of the season, I still would have been surprised. John Robinson is a good GM who's made some bad moves.
61% winning percentage over a long period of time.
He's in
top 10 in the league with an AFC championship game appearance, 2 division titles, probably a third this year. So let's keep perspective here. He's not the worst ever. He's not. And, as crazy as Jared could be, he has pointed out, he's brought up the names, Mike Reinfeldt, Rustin Webster. Do a little comparison there.
Yeah, you don't
it's
want to be
not
those
even
guys.
close about roster building. Yeah, they screwed up a lot of stuff. But they got some stuff right.
And also, while the marquee moves, AJ, Julio, Caleb Farley, Isaiah Wilson, let's not forget about rounds 4 through 7 that John Robinson has killed it on. Let's not forget about some of the practice squad signings that have been big contributors to this team, at least over the past couple of years. So I hear you. I understand that fans are frustrated with some of the moves that John Robinson made, but let's not act like it has been all bad or not all pretty, because in J-Rob we trust was a saying for a very long time that I think a lot of Titans fans subscribe to. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get back into your calls and your texts, but first, we got to talk to Preds radio analyst Hal Gill. We'll get into that coming up next. Chase, Willy, DMase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
You watch the game.
Sliding across, making the stop, UC Cerro.
We talk the game.
That wraparound goal by Sanford was a beaut. Tanner Janot, Ryan Johansson gets on the board.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best Award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Need cash for the holidays or to pay off credit cards right now? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. This is great. You can keep your low mortgage rate and still get cash out. That's right. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low rate. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will come your way, and it only costs you around $300 a month. Use that money to pay off whatever bills you have, credit cards, consolidate other debt, or start a home improvement project. With Loan Pronto, you can access up to 95% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need the appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Do it now before the holidays. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information.
This message is for the guy who isn't perfect in the bedroom. And let's be honest, who is? Maybe the issue is getting it up, or keeping it up, or maybe it's finishing too soon. If any of these performance hiccups sound familiar to you, don't sweat it. Hims can help. At 4hims.com, you can go online and get clinically proven prescription medication that treats these issues, prescribed for you, if appropriate, by licensed medical providers. And the medication is shipped free to your door in discreet packaging. Plus, Hims gives you unlimited follow-up visits with medical providers. No one's perfect in the bedroom every time, but with Hims, you can get a lot closer than before. And chances are, your partner will agree.
To get started today, go to 4hims.com/perfect. That's 4hims.com/perfect for your free visit. FORHIMS.com/PERFECT.
Live from the Game Nashville studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gutty performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
These are battles, these are grinds. We don't panic, we don't freak out. That's how we're built.
1, 2, 3, This is your drive to the playoffs update, presented by Coleman Tractor, Tennessee's largest Kubota dealer, on 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Just 2 days away from an NFL Sunday, and the Titans will welcome in the Jacksonville Jaguars for a divisional matchup in Nissan Stadium. Offensive line coach Keith Carter spoke to the media on Thursday and said that the line needs to be more cohesive this week.
You know, I just think, starting with me, we just have to play better. We didn't play very well Sunday, and it starts right here with me. And I know Dennis struggled at times in that game, but I don't feel like we can blame the whole thing on Dennis. I think as a unit, we have to play better. We have to help each other, and consistency has to start from all of us.
Well, how about the left tackle part of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I like I said, I think it's not. I'm not sitting here ready to say it's Dennis is the reason why we gave up 6 sacks and stuff in that game. I know he was a part of it, but it's a constant evaluation. We're trying to find the 5 best players, and that's what we do every day.
Mike Vrabel will speak to the media at 1 p.m. today and give his final thoughts on the game. Who's in and who's out this Sunday? This report is presented by Coleman Tractor. I'm Michelle Knesevich for 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and DMase with Chase McCabe, Willy Donick.
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee.
And former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason, presented by Hair Club. Hair Club, love your hair, live your life. On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, Caroline Fenton, and for Chase McCabe today. Joining us now, Predators radio analyst Hal Gill. Hal, Preds give up 3 goals in the third period. What went wrong late in the game?
I know. It's so devastating. First of all, the game started. They go down 2, and I said, oh, no, this is going to be a long game. The dad's trip, they're all there, and they're going to take one on the chin. But they turned it around, got back in the game, and I thought the momentum was going their way. And then, boom, 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 it was quick. The Preds just – I feel like Tampa Bay is such a good team at striking. When they get a chance, they make it work. They might not get a ton of chances, but when they get something – they convert, and it's a tough team to play against because of that. They have that patient mentality. Well, they wait for their chances. When they get them, they bury them. So a tough one for the Preds, but I think they had some good things going that game. 5-on-5, I thought it was a pretty good game.
So Hal, I want to throw this at you because there's a lot of hockey coming up here, and they're going to be playing it probably realistically up until Christmas. If they got Ryan McDonough back before the Christmas break, anything there would be a bonus. It's going to be right around there, maybe after. And so they've got a bunch of games. Last night was the first game we saw without Ryan McDonough. You saw what he meant to Tampa, the great salute that he got down there, rightfully so. But what did you see last night in his absence? Can they get through this period and have success?
How cool is that?
It was awesome.
A great video on the Jumbotron, and to have him there with his busted up face, he's an absolute warrior. And just talking around the rink, everyone, we knew what we were getting, but it's nice to see how loved he is in that city and for that team. So, it's a tough loss. You know what the thing is how do you replace that? I think a lot of things he does are just because he's smart. He reads the play well, anticipates. Obviously, blocking shots, penalty kills, but just knowing how to play against elite players. I think that's the hardest thing as as a young defenseman, you look at Fabro and Gross, Lazan, Carrier. These are young guys that are still trying to figure out how to play against the best players in the NHL. And when you take McDonough out, if you're playing against third or fourth lines, I like those guys. They have an offensive upside and they can play. And certainly Jordan Gross has that offensive upside, and they need that. Carrier scoring last night was huge. They need those goals from the back end. But defensively, once you start playing top six forwards, younger guys can get exposed. And so I think this is going to be a challenging segment where you don't have McDonough there, and you're going to need guys to step up. And maybe it's a good time for it to happen. Right before Christmas, you're going to find out what these players are about. Fabro's going to have to step up, or Gross is going to have to step up. I do feel like Ekholm and Carrier, they're kind of solidified. That's a deep pairing that you can count on. Willie, their numbers have been fantastic, and I thought Ekholm had one of his best games. Relentless gap last night, and Carrier, of course, scoring a goal and maybe get some confidence and drives off that. But this is going to be a tough stretch without McDonough.
They've got Ottawa tomorrow, and I know probably among the 32 teams, I would say probably in our circles, you don't see them very often, but I do know that they've got some really good young talent. They're dangerous on particular nights. I want to ask you about Brady Tkachuk. You had a lot of battles over the course of your career against his dad, and Keith Tkachuk, who was just an outstanding player. But Brady Tkachuk's got that same edge to his game. I've noticed a bunch of times he's fighting. He's scoring big goals in front of the net. He's a captain now at a young age. So that's a guy I'm watching tomorrow.
Yeah, he's well. First of all, talking about Keith Tkachuk, Big Walt. Remember the first time I played against him, I lifted his stick in front of the net. He slashed me across the wrist. I was like,
"Thank you."
What do I do with that? I pushed him back, cross-checked me in the back, and everything I did to him, he did twice as hard and back to me. And I was a young kid. Like, okay, am I going to fight him right now? Are we going to do this? Should I do that, or what should I do here? He played with an edge, and if he decided he was going to the net, that's what was going to happen. And good luck trying to stop him. Brady Tkachuk has taken that, and honestly, I think he's added a level of skill to it. It's been impressive watching him. He's got the leadership mentality where he's going to do whatever it takes for the team. He's going to crash the net. He's going to fight. He plays with a kind of a passion that it's hard to find guys that play like that can mix that power game with a skill game. And he's got some young players around him. A guy like Claude Giroux comes in from Philly via Florida, but he gets there, and he's going to learn a lot from him. DeBrincat comes over. We know what DeBrincat can do from Chicago. He can score goals. A young Tim Stützle is one of the most talented forwards you'll see. So they have some talent. Don't forget Shabbat on the back end. I know we've had some fun games watching him. He's stood out every time we played against Ottawa. So they have a good group of young talent, and I think Tkachuk is the leader of that young group. And so there's some excitement there. They're just not getting the wins yet, but I don't see that team as a team you look past, because basically they're a young team trying to grow, and they got nothing to lose. They're just going to go out and let it rip, and that can be dangerous. So if you try to look past these guys, I think that's a team that can embarrass you pretty quick.
No question about it. And just a sidebar, it was the dad's trip for the Predators, and how often? So Keith Tkachuk will be in the house tomorrow, because it seems like every time the Predators were the first team ever to do the dad's trip. Now everybody does it, but now everybody has their dads come to Nashville. It seems like there's got to be at least. It's like Vanderbilt's always the homecoming team.
It's almost as if the dads picked that themselves.
Yeah, it's like I'd like to go to Nashville. Yeah,
so how the dad's trip always in Vegas or Nashville.
So watch out tonight. Watch out tonight. You're going to see Senators' dads all over downtown tonight, including Keith Tkachuk, who knows how to work that. Hal, before I let you go, I want to ask you one other thing. We've obviously been dissecting this whole John Robinson move. Your good friend, Steve Hutchison, who's got great perspective. He threw out a tweet there, and he was just talking about the dynamic of covering a team and how it's sort of evolving. And sometimes as a player, you just realize that you know so much more than the outsiders know, right? That's how it should be. You have an inner sanctum, and if you're a good team, you're not going to let stuff like that out. But I'm just curious, the different markets you played in. You played in Boston. You played in Montreal. You played in Toronto, where it was hard. As hard as you might have tried, it was hard to keep a lot of information under wraps. But our market is a little bit different, and the way teams are covered are different.
Yes. Yeah. You know what? It's funny. I saw it when Hutch tweeted that out. It's funny because a lot of the stuff as a player, you don't even know that you know it or that it's valuable information. It's just what it is, you know? Like, there might be guys fighting in the locker room that no one knows about, but it's just like, well, yeah, they fight all the time, you know? And a media would love to jump on that. Oh, my God, there was a fight in the locker room. We got to talk about this. But it just happens, and as a player, you just kind of move on. And so coaches have riffs with GMs, and players know about it. And they say, oh, we'll work it out. You know, I mean, that's just another day at the office. So it's interesting when you look at different markets. You know, Montreal, somehow people would find out because they're just relentless. And you have the French media and like English media, everyone is fighting for a story, fighting. So they'll go in, they'll talk to anyone they can find. You know, the guy driving the Zamboni, did you see anything? Like, did you see anything in practice? It was closed practice. Did you see anything? So there's a lot of people digging, but in order to get the real story, you have to be on the team. You have to be in the locker room. You have to be in those meetings. And so I think the fun part about being as a player is that a lot of times it really doesn't matter to you. You know it, but it doesn't matter. You know, okay, this guy got fired. Heads are going to roll. There's going to be trades. There's going to be something that happens. And that might be every day for a full season, and you just kind of roll through it. So, you know, there's two sides to every story, and then there's the real story. But a lot of times no one really even knows it.
Hal Gill is with us, Predators radio analyst. Hal, the Preds have a grind over the next couple of weeks. 8 games in 15 days, but kind of looking back at last night's game, Saros with an .844 save percentage. I fear that when Saros isn't electric, when he's not elite, that this Predators team doesn't really have a chance. And especially looking into this long stretch of the next couple of weeks, it's going to be tough. They're going to have to lean on their goaltending. But if Saros isn't elite, this team is going to struggle to win games.
Well, hey, they just went through New Jersey and Long Island, 2 pretty good teams, and the goalies were fantastic. And I think the team has played so much more better defense. They're giving up more shots, but defending better. I don't think they're giving the backdoor plays. Now, Tampa, you know, they got to break away from point. You know, they shouldn't have let that happen, and you can't put that on Saros. But I do think in that third period, you know, that Nick Paul goal coming down the wing, they shouldn't have given up that chance. It was a bad change and bad puck management. They shouldn't have given that up. Juice should stop that. That's something that he should stop, and he knows that. But he is human, believe it or not. Some of these hockey players are human, so you have to give them you cut them some slack a little bit. But I think Lankinen and Juice have been fantastic, and don't forget it's been hard. I'm out of sorts. I'm just calling the games, and I'm like, okay, we're off for 5 days. Now we're off for 6 days. Now we got a back-to-back. There's a lot going on. I think once this team gets into a rhythm, it's going to be a lot easier. Right now it's so choppy. You had the Thanksgiving break. You come back. You have all the dads are in town for the dad's trip, and you have more time off. It's just kind of a sloppy schedule right now. So I think with all the rest that they've had, they're going to go on a tear here. They're going to have a lot of games. And I think getting into a rhythm is going to help this team. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. But I think they need that consistency in their schedule because I know it's rattling me.
And Hal, you just don't get rattled very often. I mean, you're rattled. I mean, man, we got problems.
Hal Gill, steady hand.
This is usually a steady hand.
All right, Hal, we appreciate you. We'll chat with you next week.
I need a nap. I need a nap every day. I need, I'm very methodical with my schedule, and if you play around with that, then I suffer. I suffer from that. So you know that, Willie.
Yes, I do. You got some pool time yesterday, though. That was good. That was good for you. I feel like that's going to help you.
A little vitamin D is going to pump me up. I'm going to get fired up because we haven't had much of that in Nashville.
Very scarce.
Hal Gill, Predators radio analyst. We appreciate you, Hal.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Hal. All right, coming up next, at the beginning of the show, we were referencing some of the potential friction between Mike Vrabel and John Robinson. If Mike Vrabel had something to do with this entire situation, what did he have to gain from it? I want to get into that coming up next. Chase, Willy, DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. And hey, tune in for the NFL pregame show this Sunday live from Sunny's Patio Pub and Refuge located at 1322 6th Avenue North in Germantown. Join Jared Stillman and former Titans wide receivers Chris Sanders and DMase from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. prior to the Titans taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Silly Underdog Picks is back. Get your friends and sign up today at thegamenashville.com. Pick the 3 football underdog teams each week you think will win for a chance to win weekly prizes, like a pair of tickets to a sporting event or to a concert in Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com or the Game Nashville app and sign up and play now. Then tune in every Thursday at noon for our expert picks. Silly Underdogs is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Superbook Sports.
When you want to rock.
Let's go, don't wait. This night's almost over. Do all the monsters come out at night? Why do we sleep when we want to?
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
I love it. OMG. I had no idea.
Oil Fire Whiskey is finally here. Oil Fire, a dangerously seductive spirit. You will like it. She will love it. Think you can handle it? Oil Fire, 70 proof whiskey. It's amazing.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way, I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. I'm ready to step this up a notch. You're listening to Chase, Willy, and DMase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Qualified enough to be one of the head coaches in the league that not only runs the coaching side of the team, but also picks the players and runs the personnel department.
Yeah, I'm right now I'm qualified to try to put a plan in place with our players this week. That's where my focus is, and I'm not going to think about what may or may not happen, what involvement I would have in, whoever they choose to hire. My focus is on the football team, and again, today has been great to get these guys in here to have a conversation and then begin our preparation.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel at the podium earlier this week in the first press conference after John Robinson was fired. Jared asked a fair question. Do you think that you are qualified to handle personnel if need be? Because it can only be assumed that John Robinson out, Ryan Cowden steps in an interim GM role, that Mike Vrabel will play a larger role in player selection, in personnel, in GM duties. Are you qualified to do that? Mike Vrabel doesn't say no. He doesn't say yes, which is just a classic Vrabel move. It's just a, hey, I'm qualified to put a plan in place. But it's interesting because he doesn't say no.
Why would he say no?
He doesn't say yes either.
Yeah, I mean, I would not if.
Because if he did, it's fine if he says no, because not very many coaches are.
Well, if you aspire to one day have that power, you're not going to say, I'm not qualified. You're going to say, listen, basically what he was saying, I'm the head coach right now. I'm qualified to put together a game plan for my team to win.
Which is true.
That's
his job.
That's his job. And he answered the question correctly. But if you have aspirations on being more than that, then you're not going to give a question that makes you seem you wouldn't be qualified if indeed that opportunity came, within the next 2 months or a month.
And it's another example of him during that press conference. He's thrown to the wolves because Amy Adams Strunk is not going to answer any questions. So regardless of the reasoning, he's got to answer that. He's desperately trying to put the focus on the next game and try to keep it on the rails. That's a perfectly legitimate question to ask.
Yeah, it's fair.
Because of the timing of what happened.
And
it happens right in the middle of the season.
And you can only assume that he will play a larger role
and this
in
is
personnel.
Where I had a little problem with his answer on, you guys didn't discuss, like it was asked 2 or 3 different ways. Who handles the decisions now? If it comes down to a decision, who makes the final decision? That is a totally legitimate question. When you fire the GM, and he said, we haven't really started that process yet, I find that very hard to believe. They had this discussion when it goes down on Tuesday. We're making a change. He talked to Amy Adams Strunk. There has to be a plan of attack. Here's how we're going to go about it from here. You're telling me they didn't talk about that on Tuesday? He said on Wednesday at the press conference, we haven't gotten into that procedure part of it yet. Come on.
He said Amy has final say. You're telling me
come on.
Amy
Come
has
on.
final say
No.
over a practice squad linebacker
No.
that you need to sign in December?
No.
Well, no. Did y'all hear? Amy specifically said, basically, that I wasn't aware of all conversations. Not moves that they made, conversations. So
But I mean,
if I wasn't aware of all the conversations that are made, and I just fired this guy because of that, what do you think the next guy is going to say? Hey, listen, she's making all the decisions, not us. The last person, the last line of defense is Miss Amy. That's it. She makes all decisions. We can talk about it. We're going to discuss it. But ultimately, it's her decision, which means we're going to take all conversations. Everything that happens, I am not going to go to the bathroom without telling Miss Amy. I'm telling her everything.
I just don't believe that.
Right. The actions don't suggest that. Okay, this team, we know it because we see it every day on our email. Every day. 2 guys signed off the practice squad. 2 guys put on the practice squad. 2 guys signed off of other guys' practice squads. 2 guys activated to the 53-man roster.
She doesn't need to know about
But
that.
she's
okaying every single one of those.
No, you're right. She wasn't aware of that before. She wants to be aware of it moving forward. That's why she fires John Robinson, because he was not making her aware of the things that were going on with her football team. So now moving forward, that's why Mike Vrabel says she's making all the decisions. Like, I got to run it to her.
And that's
because
stupid.
maybe John wasn't doing
There's
it.
just no way.
I'm not buying it.
She is not Jerry Jones. She is not the kind of owner that needs to know when players go
But
to
we
the
don't.
bathroom.
But we don't know that. We only know what she tells us and what the team allows us to know. We don't know if she's on the phone with them every day. Okay, what transactions are y'all thinking about making today?
Right. It's a perception.
Exactly. We only see what they allow us to see.
And I think he was trying to be very respectful of her authority.
Exactly. Because he don't want to end up in the same situation.
Exactly. He has to have a strong relationship with her to be successful. And so he's going to say things like that. He wants to make it known that we're on the same page. She's supporting me. How many times did he say that? That was his pivot answer, everything. We feel supported. Well, I don't think John Robinson feels supported today. He might have felt supported last week. He doesn't feel supported today. But Mike Vrabel and his staff all feel like they get the support because you have to play that. You have to play that if you're the owner. You got to have you got to work that. And part of it is your public stance. So if you're going to act like she's making the personnel decisions, I don't buy that at all.
Not for a single second.
But you got to have the perception. She has to have the perception that she's the one in charge. And that's absolutely true. She is in charge.
Ultimately, she is.
But you have to. She's obviously delegating the personnel decisions. She's not okaying if Ola Adini is activated off the practice squad. She's not in the loop on that.
But
nor should she be. It doesn't really matter what she is or not.
No, you can't say she shouldn't be. It's her team. If she wants to be,
I know,
can.
But she hasn't been like that.
We don't know. We don't. Hey, Willie, I'm just saying, we do not know.
But the other thing is she was in the room when the A.J. Brown. So she didn't say, hold on, I'm the owner here. We're not trading A.J. Brown.
She said every conversation. She never said every transaction.
She didn't say that. Adam Schefter said
Yes, every conversation. Basically, that's coming out of that building. I want to be aware of everything that is coming out. Everything that y'all are going to do with my team. It's not a far. It's just not this thing that we cannot assume. Oh, let's not assume that Miss Amy wants to know everything. That's not owners. Owners don't operate like that. Well, she's different. She may be different. She may want to know everything that's going on in that building with her team. We can't be mad at her about that.
I'm not mad at her about that. I just don't believe it.
Have we seen that, with other owners outside of Jerry Jones and Irsay and maybe one other? No, we haven't. So we always think that, if you're not Jerry Jones, you're not Irsay, you're not one of these other owners, then you allow the people that you've hired to do their job. Well, Miss Amy probably wasn't that way, or she probably thought like, okay, I'm really pissed off now because all of these moves that were made and things that were done, now I've come to a breaking point now. Like, why didn't y'all tell me about all these conversations that y'all were having with AJ's agent? Why wasn't I made aware of all these things? Why wasn't I made aware that somebody said that we may not have enough money for Jeffrey Simmons? Why wasn't I made aware of that? If I am an owner of a company, I should. It may not be customary, but you can't tell me where she don't need to know every answer. It's her team. My house, I need to know everything that goes on in my house. Regardless if you feel it, I shouldn't have. Just like my parents, growing up. They wanted to know basically everything that was going on in the house, my dad wanted to know. And if he didn't know and he found out about it, it was going to be hell to pay.
I get that.
And it's making the assumption that she wasn't aware of all the conversations with A.J. Brown's agent. It's making the assumption that she wasn't aware of the conversations with Jeffrey Simmons' agent.
Because there hasn't been any.
Which is true.
Exactly. There hasn't been any. The questions haven't been asked, Caroline, so we can assume all this stuff.
But I have a theory about what Mike Vrabel's role will be moving forward. Do we think he can do it? We'll get into that coming up next. Plus, of course, your phone calls. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. It's Chase, Willy, and DMase. 1025-1063 The Game.
Attention, people. Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you something. As soon as I pull it up, I thought it is. I'm sorry, people. No, I'm going to tell you about my good friends at Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife Daphne, along with that experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. You're asking one person that went, and my quality of life has been a lot better. Cool Springs MD services have already helped many men of the Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee with improving their immune systems, energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. They are there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. And there's no better time now to achieve a healthy lifestyle. So, man, what are you waiting on? Do what I did. Make an appointment. Here's the number. 615-486-3458, 615-486-3458. Or if it's not on your telephone, you're not near your telephone, go to your computer. And here's the website at coolspringsmd.com.
ESPN Titans NFL Nation reporter Teron Davenport brings knowledge,
3 touchdowns. He was processing, getting rid of the ball quickly.
passion,
Make no mistake about it. He absolutely has to hit the ground running.
and expertise on the two-tone blue and the NFL. Join TD every Monday at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Friday morning at 8 for all the latest on your favorite team. Teron Davenport is presented by Craneworks on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Need cash for the holidays or to pay off credit cards right now? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. This is great. You can keep your low mortgage rate and still get cash out. That's right. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low rate. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will come your way, and it only costs you around $300 a month. Use that money to pay off whatever bills you have, credit cards, consolidate other debt, or start a home improvement project. With Loan Pronto, you can access up to 95% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need the appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Do it now before the holidays. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. One of the things I love about the NFL is that you can always find new players or game props that you like. And what's cool about FanDuel Sportsbook is you can combine these props with other bets from the same game to score an even bigger payout. Perfect for Sunday's game. Got to think about Derrick Henry getting back on track with the over rushing yards, Ryan Tannehill with an anytime touchdown as a runner, and I'd just say over rushing yards with Travis Etienne. FanDuel is easy to use, easy to register, and easy to find your bet. And when you win, FanDuel pays you your winnings quickly. There's no feeling like nailing a same-game parlay. If you're new to FanDuel, sign up today with the promo code JGM for your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's promo code JGM. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. 21 and older and present, Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line. 1-800-889-9789.
The Sports Talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
Have they truly been tested yet?
I really want this to be a good game. Michelle and Junie, every Saturday morning at 9. Presented by Superbook Sports and the Nashville Jam Company.
I think Junie and I are going to go hit breakfast/brunch there after the show.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Smashville, this is Sean Henry. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
That's what I say on the roster between you and Ryan.
I mean, I think ultimately Amy does. I would say that we're just trying right now to work forward to see where we're at with the guys to finish the season. We've signed guys, we've brought guys in, we've signed John Reed, Terrell Basham before that. I don't see that as being something that's even, any sort of issue. We're trying to find some guys out there that may help us going down a stretch.
If there was an issue, though, that you and Ryan disagreed upon, whose decision would be the decision that ends up being made by the club?
I would imagine that Amy, the person that makes every, that would have the final say in every decision if we disagreed, and that's where we would leave it at.
Just like Amy makes in every decision. Between me and Ryan Cowden, Mike Vrabel, Ryan Cowden, yeah, Amy would have final say. I would love to know how many times through transactions, as minimal as they may be, when Amy Adams-Strunk has had final say. In big moves like trading A.J. Brown. I get it. I understand. You consult the owner for that. But Terrell Basham, no offense to Terrell Basham, I don't know who that is. I don't know what role he's going to play for this football team, and I don't know how much input Amy Adams-Strunk really wants or needs on transactions like that. So I look at Mike Vrabel's press conference, and I don't blame him because there were a lot of questions thrown at him that probably weren't his to answer, but he was the only one up there to answer those questions. There were a lot of questions asked for Amy Adams-Strunk. I felt like a lot of times he would defer to, one, Amy, using Amy as kind of a crutch, or moving on to Jacksonville. I'm focused on Jacksonville, and I don't blame him. But I do wonder if that is one of those questions of between Ryan Cowden and Mike Vrabel, who has final say? Oh, Amy does.
Well,
when in reality, Mike Vrabel might have final say, and he doesn't want to come out and say it.
That's an interesting one. He said right at the end there, if you listen to it, he goes, if we disagree. Like if Ryan Cowden and Mike Vrabel see eye to eye on it, probably not an issue. But I guess Jared's hypothetical there is like if there's a disagreement, who has the final say? That's a legit question. And he says, Amy. So I'm to believe that two football people go to Amy Adams Strunk and say, okay, we disagree. Is it going to be this guy or that guy or whatever it is? Who do you think she's going to listen to? Like she is not a football person. This is what I always say about like Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones imagines himself, even though he's the owner, as the GM. And he's made a ton of mistakes over the years because he's really, at the end of the day, he's a rich owner. He's not a real GM. But he can be the GM because he's the owner. I don't think Amy Adams has ever pretended to be a football talent evaluator. So why would she be wanting to make that decision? So what do you have to do if you're her? Who do I believe? Do I believe Mike Vrabel or do I believe Ryan Cowden? Who the heck knows Ryan Cowden? She's going to listen to Mike Vrabel.
Yes, because
right?
I think what it boils down to is a track record. It's she likes Mike Vrabel's track record a lot better than anybody else's. Obviously, Mike's still there. But even with that, it's my team, and it's just like anything. I'm gonna go back to what Adam said. You're in a relationship, and things just after a while you bring home a vacuum cleaner for Christmas or a birthday, and she's looking at you like, did you just really, after all this stuff you've done, you really brought me a vacuum cleaner home? Seriously? All right, don't worry about it. See you later. That's probably Amy's sort of, and I'm making it simplistic here. That was probably Amy's approach. Like, listen, all this stuff that went on with this team, from bad draft picks to bad free agents, okay? And now I'm peeved. It's simmering in me. I'm upset. Not necessarily to a point where I want to fire you now, but I'm upset and I'm irritated with you. Just about everything that you do, I'm irritated with you. Then it comes to find out, well, there were some things going on with the AJ, and then the comment that Jeffrey Simmons made about not enough money. Now all of a sudden, everything that you do just irritates me. Everything. Oh, after the Philadelphia game, we got our ass kicked. You're fired. I'm done with it. Because you've irritated me to a point to where now I am not pleased with how you conduct yourself as a GM. And I don't know if it's just speculation here, pure speculation. But it gets to a point, again, the timing. The timing was bad in the sense that it must have gotten to a point where she felt she needed to fire him with 5 games left in the season. So something happened, something more than just an AJ or something else. It was a build-up, and then one thing irritated her enough that she came into that office or she made that call and said, listen, we got to part ways. It could have been just as simple as that. We need to part ways because I don't want to. I know I just signed, and then y'all got to look at this. I know I just signed you to a 5-year extension, somewhere around there. I don't want to go into my new stadium being stuck in the same place. I don't. So I need to make this change now. It may not be the best timing, but we need to make it now.
I mean, she's a businesswoman.
Exactly.
She made a business decision. But now somebody has to fill that role.
Yeah.
And Mike Vrabel is going to play a larger role, but can he do it? And Tim Hasselbeck spoke on that yesterday on Chase, Willy, and DMase. This was Tim Hasselbeck yesterday.
We got the intern back there. What's going on?
Where do I think they go? I think Mike Vrabel assumes the power, and look, I can't say that I necessarily think that is a bad thing. Like, there's nothing about seeing Mike Vrabel as the head coach where I feel like he's been overwhelmed, and so I think sometimes you look at
head coaches that maybe have personnel control, and you think, honestly, like the guy already has enough on his plate. I think Mike Vrabel's been doing this long enough. I think he's been around the game long enough. I think he's seen a variety of positions and he can, surround himself with scouts that he trusts. That, like, I think the direction they go from here is that I think Mike Vrabel has the ultimate control on it. And is that a good thing? Like, I wouldn't have made the move to fire John Robinson. I think he's actually done a pretty good job. Like, nobody's perfect in terms of choosing personnel. I think he's done a good job. And I guess all I would say is, like, I think Mike Vrabel could do a good job.
Okay, again, that was Tim Hasselbeck on Chase, Willy, and DMase yesterday. He says he thinks Vrabel takes over control. So now, and this was just, a prediction, speculation from Tim Hasselbeck, but let's operate under that being true. Because Vrabel was asked a lot about personnel, about, having more GM-esque duties, and he never really addressed them head on. So let's say Vrabel is going to take on a Bill Belichick role, that he's GM and he's head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Can he do that?
Caroline, I don't know. It's a lot. I'm not going to sit here and say that, Mike's not qualified to do it, because obviously, he's been in the rooms with John, and I'm pretty sure they went over contracts and scenarios and talent, for hours and hours and hours. So he probably has a good grasp of how to maneuver through in that lane of being a GM. But it's hard. It has to be hard when you have to not only, equip your team each week and make sure that they're, in a position to win, game plan and everything else, and then not to mention, different personalities in that room that you got to deal with here and there. Not only do you have to do that, but now I got to evaluate guys that are not even on my team for next year. College guys and everything else. That's just a lot for a GM to do. Balancing game day rosters, balancing game plans, balancing personalities in the locker room. And by the way, I got to balance all the jobs that a GM does as well. That has to be a lot. I'm not saying he can't do it, but man, oh man, we haven't had a bunch of successful examples of a guy being GM and head coach.
I mean, and to your point, he can handle game day plans.
Exactly.
And Tim Hasselbeck in that clip said, I haven't seen him be overwhelmed as a head coach, which I would agree. I mean, that's his job, and he does it very well. He's a very good coach. But you add on a completely new hat, and that's overwhelming. And to your point, DMase, we see Bill Belichick does it, but how successful have the Patriots been since Tom Brady left? I mean, they hit a cash cow in Tom Brady. You look at Pete Carroll and Andy Reid, and look at John Gruden. How did that work out for him with the Raiders? Trying to play the GM role and the head coach role. He's not there anymore. Andy Reid, Pete Carroll, they are other coaches that have played kind of both roles, but those are also coaches that have been in the league for a very long time.
But I think it works for the short term, but I don't think it works for the long term.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that,
but
I
short
think you're
term,
right.
it could work, but for the long term, unless you're trying to exit out of being a head coach into the GM role, but if you're trying to do both for a long period of time, I don't know if it works.
But I don't think that this is something that Vrabel wants to do in the short term.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But even Andy Reid, I mean, Pete Carroll, yeah, they won their Super Bowl, but look at their team now.
Yeah. Better than expected.
Better than expected. But look at John Gruden. His team never really got going. They had to hire a GM. So, I mean, even though it was his friend, and I'm pretty sure he had a lot of say in what Mike Mayock did, but
and there will be GM roles that are filled by somebody else, but is that more so a puppet whose strings are being pulled by the head coach, or is it a true GM role, which is what I viewed Mike Vrabel and John Robinson, head coach and general manager. You have your roles, you do your job.
The clout, the power, the leverage, and you should be working with one another. Puppet is like a negative term, but I think it can work where you have a quote-unquote GM who's deferring to the head coach, a Belichick kind of thing. But that GM is doing a lot of work. It's just these are two full-time jobs. That's the thing I think you learn over time, that it might seem like, hey, I can do it both. I can do them both. I can shop for the groceries and cook the meal. But in the reality, it's so much work. You've got to delegate a lot of the duties there. You've got to trust who you're working with, whether that person is below you or above you.
Do you trust Mike Vrabel to take on an extra GM role? We will get into your thoughts, your calls, your texts, your phones coming up next. It's Chase, Willy, DMase, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobas. Today a little bit drier than the last couple of days here. Not necessarily 100% dry, but any rain we get, very light and very short-lived going toward the afternoon hours. High temperatures once again in the upper 50s to low 60s.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
More than 95% of people incarcerated will come home like I did. I'm William Arnold, director of the new Tennessee Office of Reentry. When they come home, we want to be ready to help remove barriers to employment. It's okay if you've been incarcerated or justice involved. Help is available. Go to tnworkready.com or visit your local American Job Center.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
tnworkready.com.
When it comes to procuring my adult beverages for the big games, I saddle up and head to Red Spirits and Wine. Red's titanic selection of beer, wine, distilled spirits, and cigars is second to none. And Red's Cracker Jack crew always delivers a winning combination of service and value. There's no two ways about it. Red is top of the range. Open 7 days a week at Highway 70 South in Bellevue. And check us out at Red Spirits.
Big dog's got it. Craneworks is ready to help lift Nashville. As the Southeast's most trusted name in crane and equipment rental for over 30 years, Craneworks offers certified operators to make sure the job is done right. RentalWorks has a diverse fleet of equipment to assist in any project, big or small. From forklifts to carry deck cranes, they have it all. When it's time for your next lift, machinery moving, or rigging project, call Craneworks. Visit craneworks.com.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information.
This message is for the guy who isn't perfect in the bedroom. And let's be honest, who is? Maybe the issue is getting it up, or keeping it up, or maybe it's finishing too soon. If any of these performance hiccups sound familiar to you, don't sweat it. Hims can help. At 4hims.com, you can go online and get clinically proven prescription medication that treats these issues, prescribed for you, if appropriate, by licensed medical providers. And the medication is shipped free to your door in discreet packaging. Plus, Hims gives you unlimited follow-up visits with medical providers. No one's perfect in the bedroom every time, but with Hims, you can get a lot closer than before. And chances are, your partner will agree.
To get started today, go to 4hims.com/perfect. That's 4hims.com/perfect for your free visit. FORHIMS.com/PERFECT.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year.
Joe Rexroad.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexroad. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and DMase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Do you feel like you had enough involvement in the construction of this roster right now?
My focus is clearly on the Jacksonville Jaguars. It is like, what do we need to do? Who's going to be available to look back and to reflect? My job was to do everything and to support the personnel staff wherever I could. To make sure I coordinated the coaching staff and ultimately get the players prepared. That goes on this week. I mean, that this is, again, the timing and the change is never easy. We recognize that. We're looking forward to it. The players had an unbelievable attitude. They're looking forward to getting back into football, after having lost.
Hey, do you feel like you've had enough say in roster construction? Hey, clearly I'm moving on to Jacksonville. Clearly, change is hard. Of course, Mike Vrabel at the podium earlier this week.
I feel like we've heard that
dodging
somewhere
yet
before.
Another question.
Like we're on to something.
Yeah, we're on to Cincinnati.
Exactly.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Jacksonville.
Yeah, we're on to Jacksonville. It's like Mike Vrabel doesn't want to be Bill Belichick so badly, yet he is baby Bill Belichick. We're getting into your phones. Your thoughts on Mike Vrabel's new role now that John Robinson is out. What role did he play in the firing of John Robinson? And now what does Mike Vrabel's new role look like moving forward in terms of roster construction, in terms of personnel say? But we'll go to your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Allie in Bellevue texts in. Says, now that the position is open for them to hire the best candidate possible, why would Vrabel want to nominate himself if he can help pick someone else? I mean, I'll ask you the question. I mean, if you feel like you haven't had enough power in your job, if you feel like somebody that was making decisions for your team and you didn't trust those decisions, if you didn't like those decisions, wouldn't you want more power?
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you aspire to be as a GM, then you're going to, if that opportunity presents itself, then I'm sure you're going to take it. But I think in this situation, possibly, he doesn't have to necessarily be the GM. Mike doesn't. But if he's help facilitating who is going to be the GM, if he's in the room with Amy and Ryan and whoever else, if he's one of those guys that are at the table and making decisions, well, hell, he might as well be the GM too, because usually it's the other way around. The GM picks the head coach. We saw that with John picking and Mike. We don't see where the head coach helps pick the GM. I don't think that sits too well with GMs, that the head coach has a say in whether you hire me or not, because ultimately it's made to seem as if he has more power than me, that everything that I do has to run through him, and that he really has the last say because he was in the room and he had a big part of me being hired.
Which might be what Mike Vrabel wants.
Exactly, but I don't know if I'm a young guy, a young GM, or a guy aspiring to be a GM, Ryan Cowden, if I'm aspiring to be a GM, then that's okay with me. But if I'm a vet at the game and I've been a GM before, that doesn't sit well with me. I don't no. I would rather the owner decide. The owner and that ownership group decide whether I'm GM or not the head coach. Because if he decides whether I'm the GM or not, I am beholden to him now. Just like we say about Mike Mayock and Gruden. Well, Gruden was head coach, and that was his friend. He brought him in.
Because he also wanted to be GM too.
Exactly. So he really had all the power. So if I'm a seasoned GM, why would I even want to step into a situation like that if indeed he has that much say whether I get hired or not?
It's a really interesting dynamic, and again, we go back to the biggest part of the story, the timing. That was downplayed by Mike Vrabel, and that was his job in that press conference, to try to put the fire out as much as he could, knowing that it's a gasoline fire, right? This is a massive story. But he said, hey, the timing's never easy. He fell back on that line 2 or 3 times. Yeah, the timing's never easy, but this is ridiculous timing to be thrown at this, the questions that are asked him, because they did it during the season. After the season, be a whole nother thing. You're planning for next season. You're not playing a game on Sunday. It's a big game against Jacksonville. But I am very curious. Is Ryan Cowden a real candidate? Do they see him as an internal guy. Mike Vrabel has very much identified no-name guys that none of us had ever heard of, Shane Bowen being the centerpiece, that he has elevated into high positions, had faith in, and gotten vindicated for it, right? A lot of people doubted Shane Bowen. Who is Shane Bowen? Hey, why aren't they giving him the title? All of that stuff. But Shane Bowen just kept doing it. Mike Vrabel believed in him. They hired him. So I think maybe we don't really know much about Ryan Cowden. Maybe Mike Vrabel thinks he's a special talent evaluator. He's been there for a long time. He's been there for 7 years.
He's brought in with John Robinson.
Absolutely. So maybe he's a guy that they like. But I'll go back to a little history lesson here. Predators get a franchise, expansion franchise, starting from scratch, no employees, just an owner. The first thing that Craig Leopold, the owner, does is hire the president, Jack Diller, who's now retired. And so Jack Diller heads the press conference. There's no staff or anything. There's no players, no coaches. And they're like, well, what's your first hire? Well, he goes, I'm going to hire the GM. They go, what about hiring a coach? And he said, believe me, because he had been in New York before. He said, you always hire the GM before you hire the coach. And he said, I've got the scars to prove it. And so he hired David Poile. He let David Poile hire the coach, which ended up being Barry Trotz, who nobody knew anything about. He was a complete no-name, Barry Trotz. Now he's going to be a Hall of Fame coach, as we know, all these years later. This was 1997. But I do think it'll be interesting if they do a search and bring in a GM who's been a GM on other teams and stuff. What's that dynamic like when the GM comes in and you've got an established coach with a lot of power? That could be pretty tricky, right? Whereas if it's Ryan Cowden, it's like, hey, Mike Vrabel, I brought Ryan along. He's on board with me. I like what he's doing. I'm a big reason why he's the GM. That's a different power dynamic, isn't it?
I would assume it would have to be somebody from within. Somebody
that
knows the team. I think so.
You don't think it'll be a nationwide search, so to speak?
I mean, maybe it will be a nationwide search, but I think ultimately it will be somebody from within, somebody that knows the organization, that knows the role that Mike Vrabel plays now and wants to play further in the future. I think it will be somebody from within.
Well, you got to, So
then Cowden would be the favorite then.
Cowden would be
right?
the favorite.
Monty Austin-Ford?
Yeah, Monty Austin-Ford. And these are guys that are within the organization. Now, there are some external candidates out there that we can name, but if you want to, I think if you want to do this, but still, if indeed this is the case, but still sort of appease Mike Vrabel and still allow him to have that control that he possibly could want, then what do? You hire from within. Because, again, I don't think anyone from outside, a seasoned GM from outside, would take a job if he knew or she knew that the coach had just as much or even more power than them.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get back into your calls, your texts on that. But also, TD brought up a very interesting point. We talk a lot about A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, former Titans. But how does this move of John Robinson's firing affect a player that's still with the Titans? We'll get into that coming up next. It's Chase, Willy, DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. And hey, play silly underdog picks today. Pick 3 football underdog teams that you think will win this week for a chance to win great prizes. Play now at theGameNashville.com or the 102.5 The Game app. Silly underdog picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today.
You love the game.
Predators win it in overtime. Touchdown, Tennessee.
We live the game.
My quarterback needs me to step up.
He can make a defense pay.
We are
1, 2, 3, 4. I think it was a good game. You had a couple of big plays.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
If you own a house, you've got a huge asset, and everyone's looking at it. With Wall Street investors buying up homes in Nashville and renting them out like never before, you have to wonder, what do they see in your big asset that you don't? The truth is, if you sell your home instead of renting it, you can kiss your asset goodbye. Especially with today's higher interest rates, the best way to save your asset is to rent it out instead. Go to renterswarehouse.com to book your free home rental price analysis today. or call 615-398-9550. Renters Warehouse. You can't buy happiness, but you can rent it.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Mike Campbell here, serial entrepreneur. Here's what our payroll customer, Laura, thinks about us.
Patriot Software and their amazing team are a crucial part of our business. They handle the details of payroll and tax payments, so we can focus on delivering exceptional customer service to our own clients. Patriot's payroll is affordable, easy to use, and it keeps us organized. They're receptive to their customers and strive to demonstrate that each day. Without a doubt, we will be using their payroll services for many years to come. Thank you, Patriot Software. 5 stars.
Go to PatriotSoftware.com to get your payroll pricing for up to 100 employees. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll processing free. That's PatriotSoftware.com.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Titans fans, the after-game party is at the all-new Superbook Lounge at Landshark Bar and Grill, Margaritaville. The Superbook Lounge is a sports viewing mecca with the largest screens on Broadway. Plus, 102.5 The Game's NFL postgame show will be broadcasting live, featuring Jonathan Hutton and Chad Withrow from Outkick 360. Party after the game at the Superbook Lounge and enjoy the ultimate in sports viewing while you take in the postgame show. Brought to you by Superbook Sports, Two Rivers Ford, and Renters Warehouse.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe, and every season is screwball season in my house. No matter the time of year, that rich, smooth taste just hits the spot. Y'all know Screwball. It's made with real whiskey, peanuts, and peanut butter, and it's just flat out delicious. It's my favorite. However you take it, as a shot, in an espresso martini, or a peanut butter old-fashioned, make it a Screwball peanut butter whiskey. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2022 Screwball Spirits, LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
All of us who work for Cromwell Media, the owner of this radio station, take a great deal of pride in our work. We honor each other for making a difference on our team and in our community. This month, we're congratulating Austin Fullwider, who handles our commercial logs for 6 years of service, and Sean Fort, our director of sales, along with David Janes, one of our part-time producers on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, are each celebrating 2-year anniversaries. Want to be part of what we do? Contact us at together@cromwellmedia.com and let's have a conversation.
Live from the Game Nashville studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Blue Vern.
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willy, and DMase.
Stilly and Company. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Rank City score! On both sides of the one big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and DMase with Chase McCabe, Willy Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee.
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason. Presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life. On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Caroline Fenton in for Chase McCabe today. DMase, Willy, we've got Nick back. We've got a full house today.
Indeed.
We've got Ask DMase later on this hour, so if you've got a question for DMase, make sure to get those in. Life-related, football-related, and the best question of the day will win a very special prize. So make sure to get your questions in for DMase. We will get to those later on this hour. Breaking down the firing of John Robinson. What does that mean for this Titans team moving forward? Because we can speculate, which we've been doing plenty of this week, about Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, some of the moves that have been made in the past that may have led to some frustration within the organization that led to John Robinson's firing. But there are a lot of moves that need to be made moving forward that won't involve John Robinson, that have involved John Robinson in the past. And the most notable move is Jeffrey Simmons. And we had TD on the show yesterday for the TD Power Hour, and he brought up a very interesting point. He said that whoever moves into this GM position, whether that's Mike Vrabel, who plays a much larger role moving forward, a GM type of role, Bill Belichick kind of head coach / GM type of role, whoever, or it's going to be somebody completely different. It's going to be a really important move, that it's going to be priority 1A to re-sign Jeffrey Simmons. Obviously, I mean, that's going to be a high priority, whether it was John Robinson or not.
Yep.
But now, looking at the management moves that have been made, now Jeffrey Simmons' camp may hold all the leverage. Because if I'm Jeffrey Simmons' group of agents, group of managers, I'm looking at this for a few reasons. One, whoever's the new GM is going to need a home run hire. Whoever's the new GM doesn't want to be the GM that starts their tenure as the guy who let Jeffrey Simmons walk. So Jeffrey Simmons' camp understands that they hold that leverage. And two, Amy Adams-Strunk has $500 million on the line for a new stadium. That this city is on the line for $1.2 billion for a new stadium. That stadium is going to be funded by PSLs, by people who come in and go to games, spend their money and their tax dollars on bars, restaurants, shops around the new stadium. So they need to have butts in those seats. You think that people are going to want to spend thousands of dollars a year on PSLs when core parts of this team are no longer, when Jeffrey Simmons is no longer on this team? So all things considered, the stadium thing is not new. But with a change in management, Jeffrey Simmons' camp has to understand that this Titans team needs Jeffrey Simmons a whole lot more than Jeffrey Simmons needs them. And that Jeffrey Simmons' camp holds all the leverage. And that's not a great negotiating tactic on the Titan side of things.
I think his camp held leverage before the firing of John Robinson because of what happened with A.J. Brown. And you don't want to consistently let players out of here that would have been, 2 or 3 guys, including AJ, and then if you allow Jeffrey to get out of here, that would just be too much. You go all the way back to Jack Conklin again. He could have been a cornerstone. He and Taylor Lewan could have been your tackles, albeit Taylor's been hurt. I get that, but at the time, it could have been Taylor Lewan and Jack Conklin as your tackles for the next 10 years. You allowed him to leave. You didn't give him a contract. You do that to A.J. Brown. You do it to Corey Davis. Teams that are making, impacts at their respective teams now. You don't want to then again have another situation where you allow another one of your first rounders get outside of your building. If you want to build a team and you want to build consistent winners, you got to sign your guys back to second contracts that deserve second contracts. Jack Conklin deserved a second contract. I think Corey Davis deserved a second contract. A.J. Brown definitely deserved a second contract. Jeffrey Simmons deserved a second contract. So he has the leverage. Before the firing, I don't think there's any more leverage that he has after the firing. All his leverage is basically, I may be, put Aaron Donald to the side, I may be the best defensive tackle in the National Football League. That's my leverage alone. I don't need anything else. You don't want to pay me? Okay, fine. Somebody else is going to pay me. And then you're going to regret it once again, like you're regretting what you did to A.J. Brown.
You know what's interesting? I would have put, and I think I probably did, in my, and I don't know if I would have put him exactly equal, but I would have put A.J. Brown and Jeffrey Simmons a year ago into the same bucket of guys I drafted that are difference-making players that I have to make room for. I know I said that many times. I never fathomed that they would trade A.J. Brown. So Jeffrey Simmons has done exactly what he should do. Number one, he has conveyed publicly how much he loves the team. He loves being in Nashville. He's an essential part to the team. He knows that, and he knows he's got a lot of leverage. And so it's just a matter of how much he wants to push it. And how many times, Derek, have you used the example of – because he sat there, he watched A.J. Brown get traded. So I guess nobody is irreplaceable. Now, you would think that Mike Bravel here would say, look, we just went through this whole thing with AJ. We are learning from that. We are not letting him get away. We're not letting Big Jeff get away.
Mm-hmm.
But you've said this before. You've got the Tom Brady approach and the Aaron Rodgers approach. The Tom Brady approach is, you know what, I want to win. I could get whatever I want as my salary. I'm Tom Brady. But you know what? I want to win. I want to leave some money in the salary cap for my team to be able to put the right players around me. Whereas Aaron Rodgers is a little more, I'm going to hold this team hostage for 2 or 3 years, and they're going to do everything I want, or else I am just going to make their life miserable, which he did. And you see where the Packers are right now. Jeffrey Simmons seems to me to be a little bit more on the Tom Brady side. I think he's about winning, but I think that's the trick for whoever's doing that negotiation, whether it's Mike Vrabel and somebody else, whether it's somebody they bring in from the outside. But you've got to make that work, and you've got to find that right space of let's pay him what he's worth, let's keep him happy, but I've got to do it meshing it with all the other tough decisions, with Derrick Henry, with Ryan Tannehill, with Bud Dupree, all of the other things where you're trying to keep winning, working towards that new stadium, right? This is a layered decision there. There's a lot of forces at play.
Yeah, but unfortunately, even though Jeff has the power, Jeff wants his money. A quarterback can do that. A quarterback can say, Tom Brady can say, listen, I know I'm worth $40, $50, $60 million. If I wanted $60 million a year, I don't think anybody would say he doesn't deserve it. Say after the third Super Bowl. If Tom Brady wants $60 million, then I don't think anybody in New England would say or the Boston area would say, oh, he doesn't deserve it. No, he does deserve it because he won 3 Super Bowls. With everybody else outside of the quarterback, we got to get our money because they've made the rules as such. Quarterbacks play longer. Nobody touches the quarterback. You know, this is a quarterback-driven league. So the quarterback can say, I take, $5, $10 million less. I'm winning championships. I'll make it all back up at the end because Tom has and he will. But Big Jeff can't say that. Big Jeff can't say, you know what, I really want 25, 27, but if y'all offering 20, I take it, but just make the team better around me. Big Jeff can't say that.
I agree.
He needs his money.
And he doesn't need to. I mean, it would be
he doesn't. You're right.
Of Jeffrey Simmons to say, you know what, you're offering me X, I'll take less than that because I want everyone else to get paid. That's a very valiant thing to do for Jeffrey Simmons. He deserves to get paid.
But his representation is interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have that
have
absolute strong agent that's saying, look, this guy's not showing up. You're going to take care of him or else he's not showing up. Like, he hasn't done that. He's worked with them. He didn't even have an agent for a while, right? He had the consultation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a unique setup that he's got. And so he could have played hardball, right, even last year, and demanded a new contract before he ever played another down. He didn't do that.
But how can you demand a new contract? Can't hold out.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, you
can.
You can get fined $90,000 a day.
But this team has to have him in the lineup, as we've seen. Like, he could have played that.
They control his rights.
There's no question. That would have been...
Players find ways around there. Players find ways around all that.
Have we not seen that work for some players? You got to know when you have the leverage. Like there was the Le'Veon Bell where he thought he had that leverage, and they just said, well, you can sit over there. You can sit over there for the whole year. Mm-hmm. We don't care. We're going to keep going. But Jeffrey Simmons, I think, he like Emmitt Smith, remember, did it for two games way back when. They lost the first 2 games, and like Jerry called, hey, Emmitt, how you doing over there? We got it. Let's talk. Let's talk.
But here's how say I'm Jeffrey Simmons and the Titans. I want $27 million per year, which is going to be somewhere in that ballpark. It's going to be in that ballpark anyway. I want $27 million a year. Well, Derek, we're not paying you $27 a year. We're giving you $22. And you got to come in here because you're still under your last contract. Okay, all right, cool. I'll be there. Don't worry about it. I come in. Oh, my back. Oh, goodness. Oh, man. After 1 or 2 drills. Oh, now I'm out. You can't tell me when to come back. I'm hurt until I'm not hurt. That's how you get around all of this. You can't sit out and all this fun. No, players are smart. And agents definitely are. If you want to get around that, you can get around it.
He could have made their life miserable.
Exactly.
And he didn't.
To that point, I mean, if Jeffrey Simmons wanted to, and you can totally do that.
Exactly.
But
What are they can't say
if
anything.
you hold out, you don't come to practice, that's where the fines come
Exactly.
in. Under the CBA. Jeffrey Simmons knows that. He even mentioned in that Athletic article, he was like, I considered holding out. I considered not showing up to training camp. And I think he looked at what that would cost him, and he was like, actually, you know what? I'll show up. I'll be there. I'll see you tomorrow, coach. But then what kind of message does that send? Because you want a new contract. Totally get it. What kind of message does that send to the rest of the league? Like, oh, Jeffrey Simmons just suffered another injury. Man, like maybe we don't want to pay him the $26-27 million. But all of that to say, the Titans have every right to say we're paying you 22, whatever that number might be. That's not in the Titans' best interest for so many reasons, and the Titans know that. But we'll get back into this conversation, plus your thoughts, coming up next, 615-737-1025. And do not forget, ask DMase later on this hour. Get your questions in for DMase, 1025-1063, The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter. But it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Hal Gill here for my friends at Dunkin'. Everyone celebrates the holidays in their own special way, but you go twice as hard as everyone else. So does Dunkin', which is why they've created 2 espresso-rich holiday signature lattes. The minty, cocoa-dusted peppermint mocha and creamy cinnamon sugary toasted white chocolate lattes are handcrafted with bold espresso and topped with whipped cream to help you do the most this year. So swing by the newly remodeled Dunkin' on Bradley Parkway in Nashville or the new Dunkin' in Mount Juliet and grab one today on the double.
312 Pizza Company is a family-owned restaurant located in the heart of Germantown, serving up authentic Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. 312 Pizza Company only uses the best all-natural ingredients and makes everything in-house from scratch every single day. And trust me, you can taste the difference. They've got deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, their Italian beef. You'll taste the freshness. Stop in for a pint of local beer and a slice of pizza, or order online at 312pizzaco.com. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
This holiday season, tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest gifts from TaylorMade and Bushnell. Featuring the TaylorMade Stealth Carbon Woods with 60 layers of carbon for faster ball speeds. And while you're there, grab a dozen TP5 golf balls. And from Bushnell, save up to $75 on the Tour V5 and Tour V5 Shift rangefinders. There's also gift cards for those favorite golfers on your list. Don't miss these holiday gifts and more happening now at Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information.
This message is for the guy who isn't perfect in the bedroom. And let's be honest, who is? Maybe the issue is getting it up or keeping it up, or maybe it's finishing too soon. If any of these performance hiccups sound familiar to you, don't sweat it. Hims can help. At 4hims.com, you can go online and get clinically proven prescription medication that treats these issues, prescribed for you, if appropriate, by licensed medical providers. And the medication is shipped free to your door in discreet packaging. Plus, Hims gives you unlimited follow-up visits with medical providers. No one's perfect in the bedroom every time, but with Hims, you can get a lot closer than before. And chances are, your partner will agree.
To get started today, go to 4hims.com/perfect. That's 4hims.com/perfect for your free visit. FORHIMS.com/PERFECT.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and DMase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
It's one of those things where it's like, now I know, like, taking over. Like, imagine taking over as the GM, whether it's Ryan Cowden, Monty Austin Ford, whoever it could be. Imagine taking over and allowing another one of your cornerstone players to leave. That would be major. So, yeah, that's going to be heavy in those negotiations. And, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I know there was a good relationship, with Robinson. So how the torch is passed and how it carries on, that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch.
That was TD and the TD Power Hour and Stillman and Company yesterday. And I think that's a fair point to make, is now that the contract negotiations have been going on for about a year now. They have been making those negotiations with J-Rob. How is that torch passed? And how is the new GM or, GM group, whether it's, Ryan Cowden and Mike Vrabel and Amy Adams-Strunk all making those decisions, how is that torch passed and how do they approach it with Jeffrey Simmons? And I thought TD brought up a very fair point. And whoever is now going to play the GM role, they're going to want to start their tenure on re-signing a cornerstone in this franchise rather than letting him walk. And I thought from even before John Robinson got fired, they have to re-sign Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah.
You have to.
So there's no way he's walking. He's going to be a Titan. The only question is, how much are you going to pay him?
There was no way John Robinson would get fired in the middle of the season, but what do I know?
That's true, and I wouldn't have thought A.J. Brown was going to be traded. I thought that they would find a way to do it. So it's not, to me, the question is not, is he going to walk? They can't let him walk, right? You would franchise tag him before you let him walk.
You let yet another first-round pick walk? You
would trade him. You would trade him before you let him walk, just like with A.J. Brown. So I don't think that's the question. The question is, how can you do a smart deal that makes sense for both sides, where Jeffrey Simmons is happy and it doesn't screw up your ability to build the roster? Because what has happened at times in the past, you overpay, you overcompensate, and you give him the moon, and he's an extremely valuable player, but you got to have enough money to address the rest of the roster. So I'm curious what kind of groundwork has been laid, and now that there's a different there's a different structure now with who's making these decisions, who's doing the negotiation. Does whatever you did before, does that mean anything now, or are you starting over now that there's a new GM?
I doubt they would start over, and that's why I think they're promoting from within. As that is a massive deal. And to your point, for both sides to be happy, sure, that's ideal in any deal, in any negotiation, in any contract. You want both sides to be happy. But I think Jeffrey Simmons' camp is looking at this like we can get whatever we want because they need us.
Mm-hmm. He's got leverage.
He's got all the leverage, and he deserves it. He's earned it.
Well, if he continues to play the way he has been playing prior to the ankle injury, then he deserves to be in the ballpark of Aaron Donald. I'm not saying that he deserves, Aaron Donald's money, because you're talking about a 2-time All Defensive Player or 3-time All Defensive Player, MVP. He's won a Super Bowl, so.
And Aaron Donald makes 31.6 AAV.
Yeah, so it has to be somewhere in that ballpark. It has to be.
And he's worth that.
And he's worth it. Absolutely.
To me, I have no problem paying him that.
If I had to pay him 31, then I'm
okay with that.
I may sign that check reluctantly, but boy, oh boy, I would have to give it to him,
They don't have a choice.
Yeah, they don't. You cannot allow another first-round pick that has proven that he can be a player in this league. You can't allow him to get outside the building. You can't build a franchise. You can't build an organization when you continue to allow the good players to leave because you don't want to pay them.
And you don't want that stigma attached to your organization.
Exactly.
Of you have not signed any of your first-round picks to their 5th-round deals. You traded A.J. Brown because you weren't willing to match the number that he wanted, and yet there's another cornerstone to your franchise that you're not going to sign to a second contract. I mean, they tagged Derrick Henry on the franchise tag, which, it is advantageous for the team. It's the team protecting themselves. But I think with Jeffrey Simmons, I think they know that, hey, we're not taking the franchise tag. We want a new contract, especially for a player, to your point, DMase, that it could have some wear and tear. If I'm Jeffrey Simmons, I want that protection and that cushion of the years and the guaranteed money despite injury.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get it. So again, I can't see just about under any circumstance, not all circumstance, but just about any circumstance. So I'm giving myself a little leeway that he will not be here, that they will not sign him back to a contract.
They're going to sign him.
Nothing is,
No question.
Nothing is 100% except death and taxes. But I would be almost certain that you can't, especially after all of this, everything that has happened, you can't then allow Jeffrey Simmons to walk out the building.
And that's regardless of whether they win the rest of their
Exactly.
games,
It
lose
doesn't
the rest
matter.
of the
Yeah.
games. They've got to have him going forward. But what affects it, this is where the general manager's job is tough, because you've got to sign him to the contract. But where I keep going with you can't just pay him whatever he wants. It's got to fit in the structure of what you're trying to do. So, for example, you're 7-5, you got 5 games left. What are those 5 games like for Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry, a month ago, you would have said, wow, guy looks pretty good. Guy's on his way to a really good season. Feel good about his situation for next year. If he plays the way he's been playing for the last month, which I don't think he will, we're going to be somewhere in between. But what's his value for next year? What are you going to do with his contract? It's always tricky with running backs when they get to his stage of that stage of his career. Same thing with Tannehill, right? They can get out of his contract if they want, but what's the alternative? And do you want to restructure it? There's all these questions that they have. What about Bud Dupree's enormous cap hit going on?
Hey.
What's the deal? Taylor Lewan, we just had all that drama with Taylor Lewan yesterday saying, I don't know if I can even play. I know he basically said, I know I'm not going to be with the Titans. I know I'm going to be released by the Titans. You got a left tackle to try to deal with. What's your left tackle situation?
Classic Taylor Lewan making the GM getting fired, making it about him.
Maybe so, but the fact remains, right? That next year you got a major position, and you don't have the guy. That's an expensive position.
And
you got to leave some money in the budget to get that, or draft him in the first round. Whatever your plan is, you better have a plan.
And moving forward, looking at the stadium, because I think that this does have a lot to do with the stadium of getting butts in those seats. 2026, you can only assume that Ryan Tannehill will not be your starting quarterback. You can only assume that Derrick Henry will probably not be Derrick Henry, if not even still playing. So what is the foundation of this team? What will be the core of this team whenever people have to put up thousands of dollars for PSLs to fund a new stadium? So Jeffrey Simmons will be one of those cornerstones. And I think ownership knows it. And I think whoever fills those GM shoes knows how high priority signing Jeffrey Simmons is for that GM's reputation and legacy and for the team moving forward.
And now we're talking about it today. We're going to talk about it in February and March and April and May, and as they do everything, right? But now we're talking about it the week that they're playing the Jaguars in a big game because they made this decision, this, in my opinion, rash decision during the season. So all of this is coming up. That's got to be distracting.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Ask DMase is coming up next. Get your calls, get your texts in for DMase. Football, life, whatever it might be. We'll get your questions in for Ask DMase. 1025-1063 The Game.
Saturday.
Put it out in front, and the score by Matt Duchene.
Your Nashville Predators return to Bridgestone Arena to take on the Ottawa Senators. Pre-game at 11:30. Face-off at 12:30 on your home for Nashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, I got to step in one more time, tell you about Superbook Sports, my official sports book. Can you beat Vegas this football season? Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. There's no fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting the lines for American sports. Nope, it's just the best team of odds makers in the biz right there behind the counter at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, here's my favorite part. They feature some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. So do like I did. Make it your official sportsbook. Download the Superbook Sports app, or you can visit superbook.com and start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Give them a call, 1-800-889-9789.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 1025 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Achieve hero status this year. The woman in your life will love this unique and thoughtful gift. Always in style, always fits, always appreciated. Choose your budget, and whether you spend a little or go lavish, she can choose from 10 different services, all under one roof at a Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa. Gift cards can be printed directly from the website, or they can be beautifully wrapped for a stunning presentation and even paired with other gifts like robes, candles, and all sorts of fun finds from the Gift Boutique. Learn more about this at amomentspeace.com/Christmas.
Signs First, Nashville's foremost destination for event signage and physical media. Located just minutes from Broadway, our team of design, production, and installation professionals can help you create an unforgettable event. Stand out. Be different. Go to sfnash.com.
There's no gift that's more beautiful, more versatile, or more meaningful than a beautiful piece of jewelry gifted from the heart. And there's no better place to find that gift than Genesis Diamonds. At Genesis, making memorable moments is our specialty. This holiday season, we put together our most impressive selection of can't-miss gifts. Rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, bands from $100 to $250,000. And now through December 12th, we're offering 5 years, zero-interest financing on any holiday purchase with absolutely nothing down. So the beautiful Eternity Band is just $50 a month. Or that 2-carat pair of diamond stud earrings, just $100 a month. Everything's included in this amazing offer. Even our huge selection of hand-picked GIA-certified diamonds and our luxury pre-owned Rolex watches. Make it a Christmas to remember with something special, something timeless, and something beautiful from Genesis Diamonds. Get 5 years, zero-interest financing with zero down now through December 12th. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
Open Sundays till Christmas.
TSU basketball lives on 102.1 The Ville. Join Coach Brian Penny Collins and the Tigers for every great moment in the OVC. On your home for TSU basketball, 102.1 The Ville and the Ville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt football head coach Clark Lee. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
DMase. He played 15 years in the NFL.
Quick throw. Touchdown, Derek Mason.
He had over 12,000 receiving yards.
Midfield, and there he goes. 80 yards for the touchdown.
And now you can ask him anything. Have a question about football or life? Now's your time to ask DMase.
We'll welcome you in.
Now on Chase, Willy, and
DMase.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, DMase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Caroline Fenton in for Chase McCabe. And it is now time for Ask DMase. Now remember, you can text in, you can call in, and the best question for DMase will win a pair of tickets to the Predators as they take on the Edmonton Oilers on December 13th at 7 o'clock at Bridgestone Arena. So best question gets a pair of tickets to the Preds game there. But DMase.
Come on, people.
Joey from Clarksville will start us off. Yes, DMase, if you want to pick any NFL player to be a possibility to be the next GM for the Titans, who do you think could do it?
Any NFL player right now? Wow. Goodness.
To suddenly become the GM?
Yeah, to suddenly become a GM? Yeah. I don't know.
So like some player is playing and decides, right, you know what? I want to be the GM.
Right.
Man.
I think I can do it.
That would be Tom Brady. He's the oldest.
That feels like the most obvious.
Exactly. That's the most obvious one. Tom Brady. He's the oldest. No, I think Tom would probably get so frustrated that he would probably walk out like, I can't do this no more. These guys are not good enough. Why can't they be this? Why can't they do what I did? Well, Tom, you're the GOAT. That's why. No, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to sort of pick, one player that could probably, segue into a GM role because I don't know these players. Now, if you would have to ask me this 15, 20 years ago, then I could have probably rattled off some players that I knew, that I was around, that probably sort of fit that mode of possibly being a head coach or a GM. But right now, I mean, I don't know these men, like that, whether they can do the job or not. So I don't know. Can I pick Peyton Manning? Used to be a player.
We did have somebody text in for Ask TD yesterday. Should Peyton Manning be the Titans' next general manager? And that was something that TD responded to: hell to the no. But I do think Peyton Manning could be a good GM.
Yeah, I think he could. But then again, he probably would. Why can't they do the things that I've seen players do? Why they can't get it? So I don't know.
And that is tough, I do
job.
think, for some former players to be coaches. Like Brady, for example, like you mentioned. I don't know if Brady could coach up a quarterback because there are certain things that Brady can do that other people just can't.
Exactly.
That he probably gets so frustrated. Like, why don't you get this? Why can't you do this? That, they just can't coach it.
That's like saying Mahomes. Yeah, how's Mahomes going to coach a quarterback? It's like they can't do what you do.
Right, he just has special skills that other people just don't have. Matt texts in as DMase, where does John Robinson go next? How soon does he get there? And is it possible that he'd try to take Vrabel with him?
No, Vrabel's not going anywhere with him. I can answer that question right now. He's not going a damn place with because he has a good gig here. And if John gets another job, which I'm sure John will get another GM job somewhere, then he's going to be looking for his head coach. I don't think Mike Vrabel is going to leave the Titans no time soon.
Big C from Franklin. DMase, if practice makes perfect, but nobody's perfect, what am I to believe? A philosophical question for the day. Like, ask Socrates. And ask DMase.
Yes.
So, DMase, you're a philosopher. What do you think to that rhetorical question?
Oh, wow. He's right.
I used to have a buddy that would say in junior high, if practice makes perfect and nobody's perfect, why practice? Let's just show up for the games.
No, you still got to practice. You want to practice perfection, knowing that you will never reach perfection.
We strive.
You strive for perfection, knowing that you will never reach it. But in the midst of it, you continue to grow as a player. You continue to get better as a team. But no one will ever reach that point of, I perfected everything. So keep practicing.
Yep.
That's what I tell you.
I think Big C just wants to get your take so he can take it. I think he's a mentor to young people.
Yeah.
He wants to ask that and have a good discussion with his team or his class, something like that.
Absolutely.
Maybe something a little bit more encouraging beyond, you're never going to be perfect as hard as you try.
So strive for perfection.
Titans in Truth texts in, says, DMase, why do you hate tight ends so much? You show so much love to wide receivers, but Hoop and Chig get no love.
Whoa. Willy, back me up on this. Who do I talk about all the time in regards to this
Okonkwo.
team? Thank you.
Talk about
Chig
him a lot.
Okonkwo.
You hate Austin Hooper.
I don't hate Austin
You've
Hooper.
been reluctant to show the love.
I dislike the way he had been playing a lot. I disliked it a lot, a whole lot. I didn't hate him. I just disliked him
Between you and Chris Sanders, I felt like it was let's bully up on Austin Hooper.
No, but I love tight ends, just like I love offensive linemen, defensive linemen. But, if you're not getting the job done, you're not getting the job done. And, we are given a responsibility to give our opinions on the radio, and that's what I was doing. But Austin Hooper has been playing better. Have I said anything bad about him?
You have
in the last 3 weeks.
You have acknowledged that he's played better.
Absolutely.
With some pressuring from the rest of the panel. DMase, you got to admit he's playing a little better. All right, now here is a very important question, DMase. Joey from Bellevue. DMase, did you give Clean Juice another chance?
Nope. I still hadn't went back. And boy, I'm telling you this. It's a power struggle right now. It's a power struggle.
Really? Have you heard from any representation of Clean Juice saying, hey, DMase, give him another chance?
It's a power struggle between me, myself, and I.
Okay.
That's the
it's
power
an internal struggle.
Exactly, an internal struggle. Part of me wants to go, And a part of me is like, you bet not. You better not. So it's just like this internal fighting.
You might get locked out of Clean Juice. Like, we heard what you said about us, teammates. You're going to spit in your next Green Juice.
So it's just an internal battle, man. And, me and myself is winning because I hadn't went.
You've stood strong.
Yeah. So
you demand
me and myself
more.
is winning, and it's not. So.
If somebody called you from there, you mentioned an employee that you
I'm
think does a good job.
I'm a forgiving person.
If somebody, or maybe the owner.
It was the owner.
manager,
It wasn't the
But what
the
if they
workers.
got in touch with you or through some other channels and said, DMase, we messed up.
You're
a good customer. We need you.
I would accept your apology, and I will, continue to get my juices.
You got to have your juice.
Yeah, sometimes that's all it takes. And hey, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm a forgiving person. Okay.
Another texter asked DMase, who is the best corner as a pro that you have played against?
Oh wow. Played against Ty Law, who's now a Hall of Famer. He played for the New England. I played against him briefly in college. I think he was did he come out early? He might have came out early. I was a freshman. He was a junior or senior. He might have been a senior. But we crossed paths just 1 year.
Michigan guy?
Yeah, he was a Michigan guy. But got into the NFL, and once I became a starter, he was one of those guys that was just, he was good at everything. Like, there was not a weak part of his game. And if you didn't come out with your A game, you wasn't going to catch no passes that day. It just wasn't. And he was by far one of the best corners. And sometimes he gets overlooked when you talk about top corners. But Ty Law was probably one, he was the best corner that I had to compete against on the field. I could talk to Mari Rowe, but he and I practiced together a lot. Champ Bailey. There's been a bunch of them out there that I played against, but Ty Law was the guy that, had troubles with. Him and Sam Madison too. And I played against Sam in college too. He went to Louisville, and I played against him twice. Once in the Liberty Bowl, and then Louisville came to Michigan State and played us. And he was good. He had a stretch. He was really good. So those two guys.
We will get back into your phones. Coming up next, more questions for Ask DMase. Chase, Willy, and DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The Sports Talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
Have they truly been tested yet?
I really want this to be a good game. Michelle and Junie, every Saturday morning at 9. Presented by Superbook Sports and the Nashville Gem Company.
I think Junie and I are going to go hit breakfast/brunch there after the show.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobas. Today a little bit drier than the last couple of days here. Not necessarily 100% dry, but any rain we get, very light and very short-lived going toward the afternoon hours. High temperatures once again in the upper 50s to low 60s.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Blood Assurance, this community's local blood centers, is hiring for several open positions in the Nashville area. Be a part of a company that helps save lives by providing the local hospitals with the much-needed life source of blood. They offer competitive pay, great benefits, paid time off, and retirement benefits. Blood Assurance has a family-friendly environment. Go to bloodassurance.org/careers. Again, that's bloodassurance.org/careers to apply.
When that door closed behind me and I was free, the main thing I wanted to do was just re-enter society, get a job, and see my family.
It's okay.
There's a new state office of re-entry in Tennessee, specifically to help folks like me get jobs. Go to tnworkready.com or visit your local American Job Center. Re-entry is a normal thing, and it's okay.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
tnworkready.com.
In 1972, a Nashville family business story began when Bill and Beverly Finley founded Volunteer Hose and Gasket. 3 generations have grown the business into the local industry leader supplying just about anything to anybody, from the largest of contractors to your neighbor that mows his own yard. Over 1 million items in stock: belts, belting accessories, gaskets, gauges, hose fittings, hydraulics, industrial hoses, lubricants, sealing products, tubing, fire protection, and more. All at volunteerhose.net. If Volunteer Hose and Gasket doesn't have it, then you probably don't need it. Call them at 615-242-0461.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Jared Stillman.
If you get 3 games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Caroline Fenton.
I don't know if he would be open to joining another team.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and DMase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Ask DMase. Get your questions in for DMase. Text them and call them in 615-737-1025. And remember, the best question for DMase will win a pair of tickets as the Predators take on the Edmonton Oilers in Bridgestone Arena on December 13th at 7 p.m. Let's go to your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Wes is up next.
DMase, man, I've been worried about you all week, so I got to ask, what's the deal with the smoothie, man? You ever get your smoothies taken care of, or what we got going on with that?
Wes, we were just talking about that off air, too. Nah, I hadn't been back, Wes, unfortunately. It's an internal struggle between me, myself, and I. Parts of me want to go, but there's a part of me that got to stand. I need to stand my ground. I am not satisfied with the way my smoothies were made, so I'm standing my ground.
As you should.
Absolutely.
A man of morals.
I don't know how long I can stand this ground.
Down.
Down with the smoothies, okay? No, but I hadn't went back, Wes. Man.
Do you miss him, DMase?
Yeah, I do.
That's part of the struggle.
Yeah, it's part of the struggle. I miss him. Man.
Tyler texted in and asked DMase, what was the most fun away environment to play in while you were a Titan?
Cleveland. I loved Cleveland. Even when I wasn't a Titan anymore. Cleveland fans are different people. Nashville, we got some great fans, the Titans do. But Cleveland fans, sort of like Bill fans, they're just different, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's to a point where Browns fans heckle you, but they're funny while they're doing it, you know? And it's just like, okay, I'll just laugh. And they just heckle you, but then they're cool with it after that. You know, they're not Philadelphia with throwing batteries and snowballs and stuff at you.
Yeah, Philadelphia fans are mean.
Yeah, they are. But I love playing in Cleveland. One, because I would always have a good game against them, but two, they're fans, man. It just reeked of football. Just like, you know, some places you walk into, like Lambeau and, you know, name another place, Buffalo, walk into their stadium, the rich history they have. Cleveland's just like that. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those stadiums, man. You just walk, and it feels like football.
That's pretty cool.
I love it.
Eric is up next with a question for DMase. What's up, Eric?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Going good.
Good. All right, DMase. I have a very curious question for you. So, I used to play pickup basketball in college, and, used to have a guy that I played with who was easily, hands down, the best passer that I ever played or saw. He wasn't a great basketball player, but he was the best passer ever. So my question to you is, what quarterback did you play with in your career, high school, college, pros, that threw the best ball? Maybe not the best quarterback, but threw the best ball.
Oh, I mean, Steve. Steve, to me, he threw that I played with, and Steve was just, it was just awesome. I mean,
so what goes into you? Like tight spiral,
tight
easy to
spiral, catchable balls, a guy that would not put you in harm's way, a guy that understands coverages, and he understands, and that chemistry's built. And Steve always threw a good football. You know what?
Peyton Manning used to always almost make fun of himself because he threw some wobbly. He didn't always have the tightest spiral. Like Warren Moon was the one that had the prettiest looking.
What you call it was that way too. For Atlanta, Jeff George.
Oh man,
Jeff George is that way too.
Rocket of an arm for sure,
man. But you know what?
It doesn't mean you're the best quarterback.
Yeah, another guy besides Joe Flacco threw a really good deep ball, but Troy Smith, and it's unfortunate, how his career ended because he got really, really sick. Because he was scheduled to be the starter. I drafted Joe. Steve had retired, but Troy was scheduled to be the starter leading into that season. And before the first game of the season, Troy gets really sick, has to be admitted to the hospital, lost a bunch of weight. Don't nobody know what was going on. And ultimately, Joe took over and didn't relinquish it. But Troy threw a good ball, man, especially a good deep ball. It was catchable, on point. It's just unfortunate, that he never really got a solid opportunity to be not just a starter, but not even a backup in this league because of, what happened that day. And then, after that, it was just.
And now he's just in that pile of guys. Heisman Trophy winner. Never was a great NFL guy for whatever reason.
But he threw a good football. Really did.
Very interesting.
Randy texts in Nasty Maze. What happens if a player out of nowhere has to go to the bathroom and not have an option to go?
Man. I've heard some stories. I've heard some stories from guys. One guy in particular, I will not say his name, and I would not say what team he was on, but he was on one of the teams that I played for, because I don't include the Texans or the Jets. This guy said that he would just use the bathroom right there.
Like in
on
his
the
pants.
field, and just pour water, because if we got on dark stuff, you don't see just pour water all
What
over.
if you wear white pants?
Hey, this is what the guy said. This is what he said he does. Hey, listen,
it's his business.
It's his business.
You're just walking around in your pee pants all game long?
Hey, you squirt water on it. You kind of dilute it. I don't know. I've never done it. Okay.
You just worry about it later.
Exactly. Or anytime you see a guy with a towel in front of him and he's on the sideline, he's using the bathroom. More than likely, he's using the bathroom.
So he's covered, but
exactly.
You're wondering what's going on back there.
If he can't run, because typically you try to run to the restrooms, especially, it's kind of hard.
It's not practical.
Yeah,
in baseball, you have the dugout there, so you have a bathroom usually.
Well, it's easier at some stadiums. Nissan Stadium, it's not, because you got to go through the tunnel and then run past and then into the locker room and then in Baltimore and some of these new stadiums, you can go into the locker room from behind the bleachers. Like, we're sitting here, the locker room is right behind as you go in, run back, and nobody will really, they won't notice that you're gone.
Well, speaking of Baltimore, remember Lamar Jackson last year when he
Oh,
was
yeah?
kind of walking funny?
Oh,
off
yeah,
the
and everybody
field,
was
and it
asking.
Is he hurt? Is he injured? He comes back looking brand new.
You had to use the bathroom. You got to go.
Oh, man.
James texted as DMase, what was the best prank that you have seen or was pulled on you or you pulled?
Oh, man. Best prank. in the cold tub. Everybody, what you wore to practice. And this was during my rookie year. They made sure they took all our stuff out of our pockets. And they had everybody's clothes, all the rookie clothes, and they threw them all in a cold tub. So when you come in after practice, you're like, man, you ain't got no clothes. Now you got to wear something that the equipment guy gives you. You got to wear that home. So that was one. The other one.
Mean.
Yeah, that was mean. But it's all in fun.
It's all part of it.
Yeah, it's all in fun. I can wash the clothes or dry them. They didn't bleach them, which is good. Another one is the whole, I hesitate to say it because they probably still do it, but so be it. The whole turkey thing, like during Thanksgiving. Back when I was here, they would say, listen, we're giving out free turkeys, for you and your families. Y'all can go and get the turkeys. If y'all want to take them home, y'all take them home. Y'all can bring them back here. Well, some guys used to take them home, and it was just a big thing of ice wrapped in a turkey thing.
Poor thing.
Yes, it was not a turkey.
Probably calling their moms, their wives, like, don't worry about grocery shopping. I got
you covered. I'm the hero. Here you go. Whoops.
Yeah, those are some good times.
DMase texts and asks DMase, after being the number 1 seed last year, beating the top teams, and then going to Philly last week and seeing how the Titans got beat in the current roster, if you were the owner, how would you feel?
I would be disappointed, but it would be, how do we improve this team? I would make sure I would be aware of everything moving forward as an owner. But I would want answers, like why are we've went to an AFC championship game. We've won the division 2 times, going on 3 now. Why are we still at a point where there are 3 or 4 teams better than us? Why? What's going on? I want to know as an owner why, after 2-3 years ago, we were almost at the pinnacle of what guys dream about in this sport, and that's going to the Super Bowl. We went from being an AFC championship game to can't even win a game in the playoffs. Why? As an owner, that's what I would want to know. Like, what's going on here? Explain to me. So that would be me as an owner. Because I said this to you earlier, Carolyn. I think this upcoming draft is going to be a critical draft for the Tennessee Titans because of what has transpired in previous drafts. They haven't been able to sign guys back that have been drafted by this organization, and it's starting to come to light that this team is not getting better. We're getting worse, and we're not signing back our own talent. So this upcoming draft is going to be key moving forward. This upcoming draft will reestablish this organization, I believe, because again, in 3 more years, they will be getting a new stadium. So you got to start hitting on all these drafts moving forward.
That was Ask DMase. Now, again, the best question for DMase will win a pair of tickets to the Predators-Oilers game on December 13th at Bridgestone Arena. So if you won, you will get notified. But coming up next, we will chat with TSU head coach and Titans great Eddie George. Chase, Willy, and DMase 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You love the game.
Tennessee touchdown! Middle Tennessee gets the score.
We live the game.
Just work on the little things every day.
They think the coaches are just coaches.
We are.
Grant City scores!
On both sides of the ball. One big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Give the gift of luxury this holiday season. Nothing is more elegant than a trip to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Gift cards from Bob's Steakhouse or Mocara Day Spa make wonderful gifts for any occasion, especially during the holidays. The foodie in your life will enjoy an evening of fine dining from the award-winning Bob's Steakhouse. Bob's Steakhouse specializes in serving big, flavorful steaks next to Texas-sized portions of delicious sides. The special person in your life will be comforted with the gift of relaxation and rejuvenation when they receive a gift card to Makara Day Spa. Let the spoiling begin with a soothing facial, hot stone massage, body treatment, salon service, or mani-pedi. Bob's Steakhouse and Makara Day Spa in the luxurious Omni Nashville Hotel. Purchase your gift cards today.
Tune in to ESPN 102.5 The Game every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 for ESPN's Trevor Maddich joining me, Jared Stillman, on Stillman & Company as we dive deep into the college football world and all the latest from the SEC. It's all brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
Hey, it's Hutton. Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments, so the first payment is not until spring of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Mike Capel here, serial entrepreneur. I started my first business in a dingy basement of a factory in 1986. Instead of customers, my visitors were rats, birds, flies, and snakes. To psych myself up that I was going to succeed, I wore formal business attire and a tie to that lonely factory basement every day. I was a total type A business geek, crunching spreadsheets for my accounting. Today, my fifth successful business, Patriot Software, makes accounting simple for accountants and non-accountants alike, eliminating the need for many of us business geeks to crunch spreadsheets or wear formal business attire ever again. Go to PatriotSoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of accounting software free. That's PatriotSoftware.com.
Accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Live from the Game Nashville studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
Oh, man, Yoshi scores!
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
These are battles, these are grinds. We don't panic, we don't freak out. That's how we're built.
1, 2, 3.
This is your drive to the playoffs update, presented by Coleman Tractor, Tennessee's largest Kubota dealer, on 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Just 2 days away from an NFL Sunday, and the Titans will welcome in the Jacksonville Jaguars for a divisional matchup in Nissan Stadium. Offensive line coach Keith Carter spoke to the media on Thursday and said that the line needs to be more cohesive this week.
You know, I just think, starting with me, we just have to play better. We didn't play very well Sunday, and it starts right here with me. And I know Dennis struggled at times in that game, but I don't feel like we can blame the whole thing on Dennis. I think as a unit, we have to play better. We have to help each other, and consistency has to start from all of us.
Well, how about the left tackle part of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I like I said, I think it's not. I'm not sitting here ready to say it's Dennis is the reason why we gave up 6 sacks and stuff in that game. I know he was a part of it, but it's a constant evaluation. We're trying to find the 5 best players, and that's what we do every day.
Mike Vrabel will speak to the media at 1 p.m. today and give his final thoughts on the game, who's in and who's out this Sunday. This report is presented by Coleman Tractor. I'm Michelle Knesvik for 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and DMase with Chase McCabe, Willy Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee.
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason. Presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life. On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Caroline Fenton in for Chase McCabe today. And joining us now, TSU head coach, Titans legend Eddie George joins us now. Eddie, the big news of the day, week, year The Titans part ways with general manager John Robinson. What were your initial thoughts when you heard the news?
I was shocked. I know Mike Vrabel came out and I guess his press conference after the game and said that, we're at a crossroads in the locker room, and I'm thinking it will be, more along the lines of philosophy, personnel within the team. I don't know if he was alluding to this move as a crossroads, but it became shocking because typically you don't see a move like this being made in the middle of the season with the GM. It's usually at the end of the year you move on. So there might be more there than we all know. But for the success that John Robinson brought, the stability that he brought to the organization during his tenure has been phenomenal. So it was a little shocking that they went in this direction, and who knows what led to the ultimate decision that Amy felt they needed to go in, and we'll see.
Titans great Eddie George is with us. Eddie, we all kind of agree with you that there's got to be a little bit more something there. What do you think happened behind the scenes?
Well, personally, I don't know. I mean, it could have been a rift between Mike Vrabel and him. It could have been a rift between him and someone within the organization. It could have been something that happened months ago and it kind of led up to this. I mean, there's a multitude of things you can speculate into what happened, but all we know is that it happened. I'm more interested in to see where they go from here. That's what we have to figure out. Is Mike now going to have the title of a GM and head coach, or they're going to bring in another GM? How's that chemistry going to work? Because, in order for an organization to be stable, any organization, the head coach, the president or the owner, the GM, they have to all be in one accord and moving in the right direction. And there'll be disagreements, there'll be arguments, there'll be discord. But as long as it's moving the organization toward the championship elite level on a consistent basis, that's what you want. So, you can always speculate into what's happened and try to find reasons, but the bottom line is it's happened and it's done. And I'm more interested in the solution of, what happens next if I'm in that building and how we're moving forward and what you're looking for. You look at what's happened the last few weeks with over the year in terms of the teams that they played against, in their wins. Their wins are against teams that they should beat, but their losses are teams that are the elite teams in this league, and they are that window for this group is starting to close. So you got to figure maybe this is a sign to say, hey, we're going to do a quasi overhaul of the team and kind of start from scratch and kind of rebuild it, or it's just a lot that's there within those moves. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out.
We're talking to TSU's head football coach, Eddie George. Now, Coach, what would be, because this is a sort of a unique situation, because even though the players are not, they don't interact with them as much as they do with the coaches every day, but he still was a part of the team. He still was out there during practices. He still made it his business. John Robinson made it his business to try to get to know every player and their families. What would be your message to your team moving forward?
That nobody's job is safe. Hey, that's the move, Derek. That where everybody's on notice. Okay, and mediocrity will not be tolerated. That's a move where you can't. You're making a statement that no one's comfortable and don't get comfortable. You have to push a little bit harder, dig a little bit deeper, play harder, more attention to detail, whatever that is. That's what that move tells me for my players, is that, hey, we are continuing to move in the positive direction, and this is the route we're going to take. There will be some changes made. Locker room may look a little bit different, but it's going to be for our best interest as an organization where we want to go, because, again, you're trying to compete for a Super Bowl, and I'm almost certain that they're probably looking at this team like, hey, this might not be the team that can win it this year, based off of what we've seen so far. So, and doing that, they're making these moves and doing it now, being swift with it, and moving forward in a different direction.
Now, Coach, you finished the season 4-7. You finished your season off with the win against Texas A&M Commerce. What was the message to your team as y'all exited the building after the season? Once everything got cleared out, once you did your evaluations, what was the message to the team? And what is life like now? Are you hitting the recruiting trail right away, or do you take some time off with the family? I saw you were at the game. Too bad NBA didn't win, man. Sorry about that. I know y'all wanted another championship, but it didn't happen. It was a tough game.
Please don't get me on that game. Please. You on live radio, dog. Don't let me go there. Don't.
Oh man.
I'll never blame refereeing for outcome of a game, but that was egregious. It was hurtful. It took me. I'm just now getting comfortable with that loss. That hurt me because that's my son's last game in high school.
Exactly.
Okay, and a lot of the seniors, and for it to be determined that way is that way. But to your point, the question that you asked originally, yes, we ended off the season on a high note, and I'm proud of our guys because we were down some bodies. There were some starters that weren't on our defense that were hurt. Our middle linebacker, Deshaun Bryant, left with a stinger. Pope couldn't make the trip. So with some guys that have been in the program over the last year stepped up and played great. And you think about, you're not typically playing for anything in terms of a championship or playoff, but I told them you are playing for something. Mm-hmm. You're playing for your starting time next year. You're playing for spots. You're playing for your future. You're playing because you love the game. And I'm looking at the tape right now over the last two games, who mailed out, who checked out, who wasn't playing hard, because that's telling me moving forward what I need to do and who I need to out-recruit. That's the bottom line. There's no all-season. We're in the recruiting right now. Right now I'm looking at a recruit. We're doing a presentation in the indoor. So a defensive lineman, we're looking at guys that really build up the trenches right now. So we are hot and heavy in recruiting. That's the name of the business right now. That's the name of the game in this business is recruiting. And that's what we intend on doing.
Now, how do you, Coach, because obviously this has become, the big thing the last couple of years with the NIL. How do you navigate that as a coach, especially during the off season and trying to get your recruits to come to TSU?
Well, Derek, that's a part of it. NIL is not going anywhere. In fact, I look to embrace it. We're fortunate enough to be in a city where there are a lot of corporations, a lot of people that I'm trying to put together a collective that works for Tennessee State University that will go toward the cost of attendance for our student athletes. That will go toward the nutrition for our student athletes, that will go toward adequate housing for our student athletes coming in. All the basic needs that makes us attractive to be here. I believe that we have the footprint that we can build something special here in the future, and we just have to continue to push forward to make it better, to make the conditions better, to make it more attractive. And I think we have the coaching staff to get it done. And that's what makes it exciting. In the near future, by the spring, we're scheduled to break ground, hopefully, on a new football ops building. We'll have all of our meeting rooms, locker room, training facility, everything in one spot to become more efficient. And that's what we're looking forward. So we got to get those wins first. And winning in the locker room and having guys truly buying into the culture that we're creating here, a positive culture, a culture where iron sharpens iron every day, a competitive culture where we're going to produce the best men possible.
TSU head coach Eddie George is with us. Eddie, you mentioned recruiting and that these next few months are so critical. But with the transfer portal now, these unique challenges face yourself and other coaching staffs in college football that now you're not just recruiting high school kids. You have to recruit your own players to stay. So what kind of challenges does the transfer portal face for you over the next few weeks and months?
Yeah, that's right. You know, some kids have jumped in the portal. I look at that as an opportunity. They feel like they can go up and get better opportunities, or they can't fit the culture. That's great. It saves me some time in terms of knowing who's in and who's out, and I have to go out and find players that are better and develop them. In fact, you know, it's twofold here. The portal has hurt high school football. So where you're typically seeing 3-star, 4-star kids go to FBS programs, they're not getting those opportunities because it's free agency now, and there's a better quality player in the portal at the top end that has experience. So that's what we're seeing, and a lot of these kids are falling into the FCS level, and I embrace it. That's great, but you know it's definitely hurt the high school athlete that's coming out because they're getting overlooked. There's over 1,100 players in the portal, and if this was musical chairs, once the music stops, somebody's not going to have a seat, and that's unfortunate. You know, so you know, for us, it allows us to have a rifle approach to allow us to do our due diligence on the kids, to really find out, you know, who they are, what we're getting, why they're in the portal. It's going to be on a need basis, not because the luxury of having kids come from FBS programs and come into a culture, because you just don't know what you're getting with some of these kids and the luggage that they bring. And the luggage that they're bringing is not Louis. I had to see that.
I left it all at home today, man. Left everything at home.
TSU head coach Eddie George joining us as he does every Friday.
Man.
Eddie, we appreciate you. We'll see you next week.
Hey, Derek, enjoy that pizza, man. How are you going to put black olives on the pizza? It's only pepperoni.
Hey, man, I like black olives and jalapeno peppers on my pizza, man. That's it. That's all I like.
I can do the peppers. I can do the peppers and dogs. You put pineapples on your.
No, I don't do pineapples.
That's
no.
what I said earlier.
No, I'm not a pineapple person, man. No,
Nah. Pineapple's only good for one thing. That's it. But,
oh man!
I'll let you read between the lines on that. Hey, man, you have a great weekend.
All right, go.
And with that.
All right, Coach, you have a good one.
And with that, Jim White has reported some breaking news about the game on Sunday. We'll get into that coming up next. We'll get DMase's thoughts and your thoughts as well. Chase Willy at DMase 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Your home for the MTSU Blue Raiders is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Every touchdown.
Yes, touchdown.
Every three.
Free ball, yes, sir.
It all lives here.
Middle Tennessee.
You can also hear the Blue Raiders in the Borough on 97.5. Middle Tennessee Athletics on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tools of the Game brought to you by Northern Tool Equipment, the problem solver's paradise. This holiday season, get the perfect gift for every solver on your list with great gifts under $50 and from the best names like Milwaukee, Ironton, and Power Horse. Northern Tool Equipment, made for gift giving.
How to say I love you without words and make your money go further this year? A beautiful piece of jewelry from Genesis Diamonds. And we're making it easy with zero interest financing. That's right. While interest rates are on the rise everywhere else, at Genesis Diamonds, we're lowering rates all the way down to 0% with zero down. This is in addition to Genesis' amazing, unbeatable value prices. How about a 5-carat diamond bracelet for only $85 a month? Or a luxury pre-owned Rolex Submariner or Datejust? Pay nothing down and spread the cost over 5 years. Everything's included in this amazing holiday offer, but this is only through December 12th, so shop early. Unique designer jewelry, colored gemstones, classic diamond studs, hand handcrafted engagement rings starting as low as $35 a month with 0 down. Even our GIA certified diamonds are included. Let Genesis help you find that remarkable gift for the season and enjoy low payments and 0% financing for 5 years with no money down. Merry Christmas from Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
Open Sundays till Christmas.
Men, are you asking yourself questions like, why am I gaining fat? Why is my energy or sex drive down and maybe haven't been getting the exercise you need? If you want to get back to the man you used to be but just don't have that youthful energy, that edge you once had, you very well might have low testosterone. Low T causes all kinds of issues, from a reduced libido, lower drive, and bad sleep patterns to problems with muscle gain, bone density, and more. It may even contribute to erectile dysfunction, and if this sounds like you, it's probably time to get treated for your low T. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've treated thousands of men for low T. We've seen them put on muscle, add to their energy, improve their sex lives, get better sleep, and just feel better. Plus, if you're like most men, you'll see results in only a few weeks. So make an appointment today and experience how testosterone therapy can truly change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. Call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments, extra results vary.
Should you rent? Should you buy? This is Chad Withrow, and these are reasonable questions, but there are major advantages of owning a home as opposed to renting, like mortgage interest, tax deductions, other tax benefits, plus the equity in the home becomes an asset. You really are throwing away your money when you rent. Let your money work for you. Give my friends a call at Regal Realty Group. Let them find you the right home. They do everything for you, from contract to closing and everything in between. Give them a call at 833-OUTKICK. That's 833-OUTKICK.
312 Pizza Company is home to Southeastern Carolines with Caroline Fenton.
I love this show. Never miss a moment of the show.
Okay, all right, okay.
Subscribe to the Chase, Willy, and DMase podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm ready to step this up a notch. You're listening to Chase, Willy, and DMase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, DMase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. And this Sunday, following the Titans game, tune in for the NFL post-game show with Jonathan Hutton and Chad Withrow, live from the Superbook Lounge in Landshark Bar and Grill, Margaritaville on Broadway. The post-game show is brought to you by Renters Warehouse, Two Rivers Ford, now with a huge inventory of in-stock vehicles to choose from, and Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today. So per Jim Wyatt just a couple minutes ago, officially ruled out on Sunday for the Titans, Danico Autry, Traylon Burks, no surprise there, Christian Fulton, David Long, Trey Avery, and C.J. Board.
Wow.
The secondary is running so incredibly thin for this Titans team.
Wow. They are that's a lot of people on the defensive side of the ball, and you're talking starters. Danico was out last week, so we didn't think he would be back this week.
Shock.
Yeah, it wasn't a
Traylon
shock.
Burks in concussion protocol.
Traylon Burks in concussion protocol.
But no Christian Fulton, no Trey Avery.
Those two, and then David Long. That's huge too.
I mean, you heard Mike Vrabel earlier hyping up Terrell Basham,
exactly,
a linebacker, who's probably going to be playing in David Long's position Sunday.
This team is beat up, battered, tattered, and they've been this way for 2 years now. I remember this happening some years ago, maybe 10 years ago, somewhere around there, where there was just these rash of injuries with the Tennessee Titans, and they were soft tissue injuries and stuff, and it became a big thing because people were trying to figure out, well, why are these guys consistently getting hurt?
That was a big thing last year.
Yeah, that too. And then it was, is the training staff doing their job? Is the, trainers, weightlifting, trainers doing what they need to do in the weight room? So why is this team having all these injuries? And I'm wondering the same thing now. Like, why are all these guys, why are all these injuries occurring with this team over 2 years? We're not even talking about this year. This is just last 2 years. They've had a bunch of injuries, a rash of injuries. And
at the top of the league in the last
exactly.
2 years. Yeah.
Fortunately enough for them, two things have happened. They've been able to win but their division has been bad. So even with those injuries, they've still been able to overcome, and win their division. But I wonder how long does this last when you continue to have guys injured, key guys injured. How long can you go and continue to win games? And, you don't have, core guys on your defense. You don't have them in the secondary.
And
how much of a loss, how much is that going to affect them Sunday versus the Jaguars? Because these are some key losses.
And last week, I think even, with Christian Fulton out there, with Trey Avery out there, you still saw the Eagles expose how many holes the Titans had in the secondary. But now you look at Chris Jackson and Elijah Molden on IR. Of course, Caleb Farley on IR. He's getting microdiscectomy, so he's out for the season. So you're looking at Roger McCreary, Terrence Mitchell, and then John Reed, another signing that Vrabel was just pumping the tires on earlier this week. Those are your 3 healthy corners against the Jags. Now, I think that the Titans have been incredibly lucky that they are facing the Jacksonville Jaguars this weekend. And, Trevor Lawrence hasn't practiced all week. I'll need to check in and see if he has practiced so far today. But, I mean, correct me if you think differently, DMase, but even with a battered secondary, even with no David Long, even with guys that they picked up off the practice squad that are going to have to contribute this week, and John Reed and a Terrell Basham, this game still doesn't really scare me. This game doesn't really, get me excited, and I wish I felt differently. But even with everything going on with the Titans this week, and with all the injuries, David Long out, Christian Fulton out, Trey Avery out this weekend, this game still doesn't really do it for me. I'm struggling trying to find a good talking point about the Jags.
I mean, the Jaguars, now, last week was I didn't expect that to happen to the Jaguars, how the Detroit Lions just beat up on them. I thought they were going to lose because, to me, Jacksonville is your typical, young team, a lot of talent, but we don't know how to win yet. We'll be in the game, but we just don't know how to finish games.
And I think going into this season, a lot with Doug Peterson, now that you're ridden of Urban Meyer and all of the cancer that he brings into the locker room, you have Doug Peterson, a good coach, Trevor Lawrence with another year of development under his belt. You bring in Christian Kirk, a wide receiver who has experience, a certified threat for Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Etienne is back and healthy. I think a lot of people looked at the Jags, myself included. I thought the Jags could be kind of dangerous this year. But to your point, they're just not there yet.
Yeah.
I think they could be a good team a couple years down the road. Just not right now. They're just too fresh.
The Jags are a team that a lot of talent, not enough experience, don't know how to win the close games yet. But if you don't show up with your A game, they can beat you. They have enough talent that if you don't show up and play the way you're supposed to play and you make some mistakes here and there, the Jacksonville Jaguars will beat you. And this is why I am not worried, but a little bit concerned about this game because of the injuries that the Titans have on the defense side of the ball. Because Traylon Burks is not playing, because of the firing of John Robinson. So you got these distractions, then you have these injuries, and now you got to walk into a situation where you're playing a young team that want to prove something, that wants to prove that, hey, listen, we are going to be a contender pretty soon. We're just young, but we're going to come out, we're going to fight tooth and nail and make you earn this win. That's why I feel a little nervous about this game. Now, it's good that, you was like, I can't, I can't get up. It's the Jaguars. And I get it. I understand it. It's the Jaguars. But even with it being the Jaguars, it's a good roster. And
they've got talent.
The Titans are trending in the wrong direction right now.
I don't know if I can go fully there yet. It's been a rough couple of weeks. The Bengals game and then the Eagles game. But I think you could look at John Robinson and his firing in 2 different ways. You could say, wow, this team's been distracted. Their mind is elsewhere. It could be, you know what? Our GM just got fired because our owner doesn't think we're good enough, and we're going to go out and prove differently. But we talk about the injuries on the defensive side of the ball. No David Long, no Christian Fulton, no Trey Avery this weekend. But Racey McMath will be back out there on Sunday. I've seen a lot of talk about Racey McMath. Of course, no Traylon Burks on Sunday, so we can assume that Racing McMath will play at least some sort of role on Sunday. I don't think Racing McMath is all of a sudden going to be the answer in this passing game's issues. I mean, Racing McMath is a good player. He made a lot of really great plays in training camp. I saw some videos put out on Twitter from reporters who've been at practice this week of some good catches made by Racing McMath. I've covered Racing McMath for a very long time. He went to LSU. He's a good player. He's not going to just solve this team's problems. So I don't know where this idea of, oh my gosh, Racing McMath is back. Gird your loins, Jacksonville. I can't get there with Racing McMath.
I mean, I can't either. I'm like you. I've seen some good things with Racing McMath, but those things were in practice, in preseason games. I have not seen anything from Racing McMath when the real lights turn on.
Right.
So y'all can put out, and people are doing their jobs, and they put out this information or they put out the videos, and I get it. He's back at practice. He's looking good. Well, you show video of Julio Jones when he looked good. You show videos of, this player or that player. Caleb Farley looking good.
Yeah.
And then once they get into the game, it's something totally different. So I've seen a little in Racing McMath that makes me think, okay, if he is given an opportunity, then maybe he can, make a play or two. But I've also seen the Titans, bring in guys and elevate guys to the active squad and then don't play them at all. And they're a no-show. Or they may get one play, and that's it. So I'm not expecting anything from Racing McMath. I'm damn sure not expecting him to come and save the receivers.
No. That's not what
That's
he's
Traylon Burks'
job.
job.
That is Traylon Burks' job. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get back into your calls and your texts. But coming up next, is this just talk? Or do they know something that we don't as far as the Titans are concerned? We'll get into that coming up next. Chase, Willy, and DMase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, this is Matt Duchene, and this is Nashville.
Running down the left side with Duchene. Duchene scores! Matt Duchene with the overtime winner.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Give the gift of luxury this holiday season. Nothing is more elegant than a trip to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Gift cards from Bob's Steakhouse or Mocara Day Spa make wonderful gifts for any occasion, especially during the holidays. The foodie in your life will enjoy an evening of fine dining from the award-winning Bob's Steakhouse. Bob's Steakhouse specializes in serving big, flavorful steaks next to Texas-sized portions of delicious sides. The special person in your life will be comforted with the gift of relaxation and rejuvenation when they receive a gift card to Mocara Day Spa. Let the spoiling begin with a soothing facial, hot stone massage, body treatment, salon service, or mani-pedi. Bob's Steakhouse and Mocara Day Spa in the luxurious Omni Nashville Hotel. Purchase your gift cards today.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and you can give the gift of Preds hockey this holiday season with the Smashville Stocking Stuffer presented by 47 Brand and Local IQ. This includes 2 hockey tickets, a Preds 47 Brand hat, and a $20 food voucher, all starting at just $79. Visit NashvillePredators.com/stocking for more info, or check out the 5-game pick plan presented by Hattie B's. Pick any 5 games and select your seats, plus receive a Preds car flag and a $10 gift card to Hattie B's. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets for details.
Hey Nashville, TJ Anderson here. With real estate listings, you have to read between the lines. Like waterfront property, more like a mosquito farm. Pride of ownership, they're really proud of the DIY job they did. Seller says sell. Really? I thought they just put it on the market for fun. My team at TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty is ready to help both home buyers and sellers decode the market. Oh, and if it says don't let this one pass you by, it's probably on wheels. Google TJ Anderson Homes, read our reviews, and see why we are referred for a reason. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, 615-432-2919.
Need cash for the holidays or to pay off credit cards right now?
Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. This is great. You can keep your low mortgage rate and still get cash out. That's right. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low rate. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will come your way, and it only costs you around $300 a month. Use that money to pay off whatever bills you have, credit cards, consolidate other debt, or start a home improvement project. With Loan Pronto, you can access up to 95% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need the appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Do it now before the holidays. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Can't get enough Vanderbilt basketball?
Intercepted right all by himself for a one-hand flush.
Your home for the Commodores is 93.3 Classic Hits.
Put it up. It's good. Count it.
Join Coach Jerry Stackhouse and his team on their journey through the SEC.
Pulls a trigger. Yes, from 3.
Check out Vandy Hoops on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
Hey, this is Pekka Rinne. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Between Julio Jones, because I don't know what other disagreements they've had, but I guarantee you Mike Vrabel didn't want Julio Jones in Tennessee. Right. That wasn't his call, as evidenced by the fact that he was nowhere to be seen or heard from when they made that trade. And he was vindicated. A.J. Brown, we know. We have the visual evidence, clear and obvious, that Mike Vrabel was not happy that A.J. Brown was traded. And on Sunday, he was vindicated. Chris, I think it's as simple as they get their asses kicked by A.J. Brown and the Eagles on Sunday. On Monday, Amy Adams Strunk decides John Robinson's got to go, but I'll sleep on it. And she did. And Tuesday morning, John Robinson went. And there has been nothing, no effort whatsoever by the Titans to tell anyone who may be saying that they're off base. So we're on base.
There you go. That was Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, earlier this week. And he says, hey, it could be as simple as we spent all week speculating what in the world could have possibly happened to lead to the firing of John Robinson, a move that I don't think anybody expected, at least to be made on December 6th. But Mike Florio says, look, it could be as simple as 2 moves. Mike Vrabel didn't agree with the Julio Jones trade, which I can probably agree. I was a dumb move. And Mike Vrabel didn't agree with the A.J. Brown trade. And that was enough to create friction between Mike Vrabel and John Robinson, so much so that it got to a point where Mike Vrabel said, hey, we've got to part ways. He may have gone to Amy Adams Strunk and said, it's either him or me. It could have gotten to that point. But also, Tim Hasselbeck reiterated the idea that this could have been a move that was fueled simply by Vrabel versus Robinson.
I think that Mike Vrabel, where do I think they go? I think Mike Vrabel assumes the power. And look, I can't say that I necessarily think that is a bad thing. Like, there's nothing about seeing Mike Vrabel as a head coach where I feel like he's been overwhelmed. And so, I think sometimes you look at, head coaches that maybe have personnel control and you think, honestly, like the guy already has enough on his plate. I think Mike Vrabel's been doing this long enough. I think he's been around the game long enough. I think he's seen a variety of positions and he can, surround himself with scouts that he trusts. That, like, I think the direction they go from here is that I think Mike Vrabel has the ultimate control on it. And is that a good thing? Like, I wouldn't have made the move to fire John Robinson. I think he's actually done a pretty good job. Like, nobody's perfect in terms of choosing personnel. I think he's done a good job. And I guess all I would say is, like, I think Mike Vrabel could do a good job.
There you go. That was Tim Hasselbeck on Chase, Willy, and DMase yesterday. So both Mike Florio and Tim Hasselbeck reiterate the idea that, hey, it could have been Vrabel versus Robinson. Albert Breer said the same thing in Monday Morning Quarterback earlier this week, said it was according to an NFL person who knows both guys well, said it was a partnership between two alphas that had run its course, and that Julio Jones and A.J. Brown were the two moves that just set it over the edge. Now, there were other moves here and there that could have contributed to as well.
Yeah, I mean, everything is on the table right now. Or it could just be, as simple as, listen, this organization, I don't feel is going in the right direction. There's been moves that we've made that has come back to bite us. I'm going to sleep on it, and then I'm going to decide. So I get up Tuesday morning to decide to fire John. But this has to be, in some way, this has to put everybody on notice. It does. It really does. Because when you do this, you can't do it the other way around. Because if you're mad about the roster and you say, well, if these two guys were sort of, in partnership as far as the personnel, and I talked to John about personnel. John talked to me about personnel. We discuss it, and we decide, okay, this is the guy. Now, we may not agree 100% on every player, but is this the best thing for the organization? Okay, let's make that move. My thing is, this could be a message for Vrabel too. Like, I didn't fire you now because I believe in you. You are the reigning coach of the year. I believe in you now. I do. But don't get too comfortable, because if this continues, then you're next. I fired the GM with 5 games left. Don't think I won't fire you if this doesn't get right. If this, because this team seems like it's going in the opposite direction of what we thought 2 years ago. This team has either been stagnant or they've regressed a little bit. Last year's team is better than this year's team. The year before that was better than last year's team. A theme is this team keeps getting worse.
And it seems like, too, the piece that was missing in 2020, the defense, figured that out in 2021.
Exactly.
But the offense took a step
Absolutely.
back. And it seems like this team has not been able to figure it all out at the same time. And that's what really it is when we're going on a championship run. It's figuring out the right pieces at the right time. It's really just kind of a stroke of luck to a certain extent. But to your point about Vrabel's not safe, I agree with you. And I don't think Vrabel is innocent in some of the... I don't want to use the word struggles, because I don't think this team has struggled, but between that gap between the Titans and making a run for the Super Bowl, Mike Vrabel isn't innocent in that situation. But I think when Amy Adams-Strunk made the decision to fire John Robinson and to hold on to Mike Vrabel, she pledged her allegiance to Mike Vrabel.
Yeah. No.
So I'm with you that I don't think that Mike Vrabel has Supreme Court justice job security. But Amy Adams-Strunk made up her mind and made her decision that Vrabel was the guy that she was going with. If it truly is a matter of Vrabel versus Robinson, as Mike Florio and Tim Hasselbeck and Albert Breer have all hypothesized.
Well, yeah. Again, because there hasn't been anything definitive coming out of the Titans facility other than, hey, we decided to make this change for this reason. And it's sort of been like a blanket over it. Okay, we made the decision, move on. We'll be fine in the future. And they never really gave so why did you do it? Okay, you did it. Why did you do it at this time? What caused you to do it right now? Was there some type of argument? Was there friction between the coach and the GM? All these questions haven't been answered, and they may be answered after the season. Who knows? But I would have to believe that if she fires, even though her allegiance is to, right now, that's the way it seems, her allegiance is to Mike Vrabel. Mike, even after being coach, he can't feel comfortable in this situation, because he got to think she just fired the GM, and he claims he didn't know anything about it. And I'm going by the premise of his press conference yesterday. I knew Tuesday morning. I found out Tuesday morning. She called me Tuesday morning to let me know what she had decided to do. So if I'm to believe that, I have no other reason why not to, then he has to think, well, my job is secure, but it ain't padlock secure. It might be put a latch on it secure where the kid can't pull a door open, but it ain't secure enough that somebody can't just yank the door. A grown person can't yank it and come in. As a head coach, when you do that with a team that is with a winning record, they're about to win their third AFC North Division title, you can't feel comfortable as a head coach. Yes, she's on my side, but if we don't get this thing right, my fate could be the same as John was. She could end up firing me in the middle of the season or at the end of the season next year or the year after that.
So what exactly is John Robinson's job moving forward? We'll get into that coming up next. Plus, your calls and your texts, 615-737-1025. It is Chase, Willy, and DMase, 1025-1063, The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
He looks like 1,000 quarterbacks I've seen in a college game.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
The coaching staff kept him and got rid of the other guys.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
If he's so great in the locker room, then give him a coaching gig.
Chad Withrow is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order your new Ford from Two Rivers Ford on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobas. Today a little bit drier than the last couple of days here. Not necessarily 100% dry, but any rain we get, very light and very short-lived going toward the afternoon hours. High temperatures once again in the upper 50s to low 60s.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
All right, let's talk Loan Pronto. If you need cash for the holidays or if you need to pay off some credit cards or any other bills that are top of mind and you need some cash, Loan Pronto has all new Express Equity Line of Credit Program. The Express Equity Line of Credit Program is just what you need because you can keep your low mortgage rate intact. You don't want to mess with that. And you still get cash out to address those financial needs, whatever they may be. Tuition bills, car payments, credit card bills, if you want to start a home improvement project. All of that stuff is in play. And as you plan for 2023, this is a tool that can work for you through Loan Pronto. You can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $300 a month. So you think and get the wheels turning. And when you do, call Loan Pronto next, 615-499-5780. Do it now before the holidays, 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, their physicians are specialty trained orthopedists that treat injuries and disorders of the upper extremities. Not all painful conditions require surgery. Therefore, their physicians look for non-surgical solutions first. Depending on your condition, you can be treated with a brace, splint, anti-inflammatory medications, rehabilitation, or if necessary, surgery. To experience world-class orthopedic care, visit tn.houston.com, where experience matters.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexroad. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and DMase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and DMase 102.5, 106.3 The Game. John Robinson out as Titans general manager. So what does that mean for Mike Vrabel? What does that mean for management moving forward? Because John Robinson was asked earlier in his press conference, is he qualified to take on a role as GM? This was Mike Vrabel in his press conference earlier.
You're qualified enough to be one of the head coaches in the league that not only runs the coaching side of the team, but also picks the players and runs the personnel department.
Yeah, I'm right now I'm qualified to try to put a plan in place with our players this week. That's where my focus is, and I'm not going to think about what may or may not happen, what involvement I would have in whoever they choose to hire. My focus is on the football team, and again, today has been great to get these guys in here to have a conversation and then begin our preparation.
And if Mike Vrabel does play a larger role, which I think we can all probably expect that he will, can he do it? I mean, I'm looking at Bill Belichick, who plays that kind of general manager, head coach role. Hasn't looked very successful without an elite quarterback. Look at Pete Carroll, Andy Reid, and John Gruden, who obviously was not very successful in that role. Mike Vrabel is a great coach. Coach of the year last year. I think we all feel very comfortable about this Titans team because it is led by Mike Vrabel. But I don't know about Mike Vrabel's drafting ability. I don't know about Mike Vrabel's prospect evaluation. I don't know how willing Mike Vrabel would be to go to the East-West Shrine game and evaluate, a potential third-round left guard. I'm not saying he can't do it. He's a good coach. I don't know if he can be a general manager. And so I think when we were moving forward and, kind of putting the firing behind us, looking ahead to the future of the Tennessee Titans, if that entails Mike Vrabel playing that sort of GM role, how do you feel about that?
Well, this is why why my theory is that there was not a Mike Vrabel going in one fell swoop and saying, we got to make a change, et cetera, because these are things that I just don't think you would want to deal with now during the season. These are all great philosophical questions that he's going to probably need to address in the offseason. How much input does he want? What does he want in terms of a title? Is the GM below him, like a Belichick kind of thing? But in the middle of the season, he kept coming back to Jacksonville because the pressing need is to beat Jacksonville on Sunday. So once again, the timing brings up all these questions that otherwise would not come up. So it leads me to believe that it was an ownership decision that just boiled over and not a Mike Vrabel boiled it over. But it's a great question, and I don't know I've never really heard him in any setting really discuss that part of it. I think he probably, just like any coach, wants input. He did say many times during the press conference the other day that he felt like he did have input, right, on a lot of decisions that were made. Like, he was grilled on that pretty well. Like, what has your input been, and what's it going to change now? And he tried to get around what's going forward. He kind of said, Amy makes the final decisions now. She's going to be more involved. But so it was a little bit gray in what's going to happen from here forward. But I don't think we know the answer to that right now. We all agree that if you're going to take on that role, that is a big, big responsibility to try to do both. Prepare your team for each game, each practice, and also make all of the personnel decisions on the side and for the future. That's too much work for one person.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
And why would you want to deal with this now in week 13 when you're in first place? You've still got the most important part of your season is coming in the next month. Month and a half. Everything's riding on this. Why do you want to deal with this now?
That's why people. I think that's the surprising thing about this. Not necessarily. Well, I guess it is surprising to a lot of people that he got fired, But I think more importantly, why now? Because, there's not much going on as far as transactions, picking a player up and everything else. Trade deadline is over with. They're not making any trades. So why did you feel that relieving the GM of his duties was a good thing at this particular time?
And to look at what the Rams just did.
Mm-hmm.
They just had to sign Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that the Titans are going to make a pretty big move like that, but who's to say that there's not a corner around the league that says, hey, I want to get cut. I'm sick and tired of being here. And the Titans drastically need cornerback depth, or at least defensive back depth. You might sign a really solid corner that could be part of your team moving forward. Signing Baker Mayfield was not a small move for the Rams. Mm-hmm. So are you going to make that move? Are you going to make that kind of decision without your general manager?
Well, I guess
and
they would now.
They would have to now.
You have a sort of GM in Ryan. So you figure if that was a decision that needed to be made, then he, along with Mike Vrabel, or Mike Vrabel along with him, they can make those decisions because ultimately, because everything is so new, this wound is still fresh. We got to run it up to Amy before we do it. We've agreed, whether it's Ryan that got what he wanted as far as the player, or it was Mike that got what he wanted as far as player. But everything needs to be ran through Amy right now. So,
be caller 3 now, and you can win a pair of Preds tickets as they take on the Edmonton Oilers on December 13th at Bridgestone Arena at 7 p.m. But without further ado, let's get to the best shots of the week.
But let's just hope it's a slump. If there's got to be something better than that.
G Pander says Willy needs to be randomly P-tested by the NFL after that last take.
Hey, Willy.
Well, I told you I would probably fail if today.
Well, we can tell.
You know who I'm mad at?
Who?
Willy. Because he was just in his damn DeLorean, and he couldn't tell us this was going to happen.
You were
like,
just
seriously.
in the time machine.
Exactly.
You went to the future.
Exactly.
And you give me crap when I ask, hey, what does the rest of the division look like? You couldn't say, oh, by the way, they fired John Robinson.
Exactly, Willy. Goodness.
Come on, Willy.
I guess I wasn't quite that far into the future.
Something like that.
I was in the future up until yesterday.
Okay.
And went back to September 1st. I guess I should have stayed in the future for one more day.
Exactly.
Boy, would I have had a story to break. Holy cow.
Bobby wants to weigh in. The Tennessee Titans are blank. Welcome in, Bobby.
Okay, I got two things. First, why is it that Tannehill, when he gets in the pocket, he don't move? He waits to get sacked or something like that. Y'all can answer that after I finish this next statement. The Titans are a John Cena team because you can't see them. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Bobby.
That was a good one. I like that.
Yeah, that's good.
What is that?
You got some tunes going there, Derek?
Is that me?
It sounds like a good song.
I don't know what it is. I'm trying to see.
It's bobbing my
If
head
it's
a
my
little bit.
computer, I turned it down. But no, that's not me.
Is it me?
Yeah, that's not me, Willie. That was
It's
somebody.
me.
That was
It's me.
Willie. See, Carolina. I thought it was me. This Willie.
Oh, I
That's
was
some good
jamming out.
tunes. Exactly.
I was jamming out. It was my computer. I thought it was my phone.
Oh.
I turned everything off my phone.
But my thing
computer
is,
was on.
there's something that happened.
Hi, everybody.
In the midst of all of that.
I came
'Cause
into
it
music
wasn't-
today.
It wasn't just.
I think it's easier to find a head coach. First off, was somebody driving you, or were you driving?
I was driving. The driver had the day off.
That you drove anymore. I didn't. I thought you was always had a driver. Second best receiver in Titans history behind AJ Brown. I figured you get a driver. Yeah.
Hey man, when AJ became number one, he got the driver.
Yeah, drove him out of town.
Oh man, he just hadn't got back from Philly. What's up to my man?
Guys.
We also got an intern
Vase?
behind
Is
the
it-
glass.
what's your name? Vase or Gase?
It's Gase.
Gase? Hey, Gase, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, Gase, that just walked in, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
You're the guy that played for the Jets, right?
Yes. I gave your cousin a jersey, man.
Cousin Chase, he's great.
Yes.
Yeah, new intern behind the glass. Really hope he doesn't mess things
He's
up.
from Montana. He's from Montana, people.
Montana.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Chase, Willie, and DMase will be back Monday at 10 a.m. Stillman & Company is up next.
We out.
You love the game.
The doors on the board. Touchdown at TSU.
We live the game.
Going up against that defense, he can make some plays and take that next